Chapter 1191, Begging. Chapter 1191, Begging. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Central continent, deep in earth abyss. Delicious wine and food was set out in the garden. Come, brother Shi, I have heard that you like delicious wine. I have purposely looked for these wines for you to taste. Gu immortal Yang Feng sat upright as he stretched out his arm towards his esteemed guest. This guest had short white hair and shining golden eyes with sharp light in them. He wore a tight martial uniform and had a blue silver belt. His forearms and knees had dazzling armor. He had broad shoulders and a slim waist. He was emitting a valiant aura. But he was half leaning on the wall and had a casual posture. It lifted a bit of the pressure that he was emitting. Gu Immortal Yang Feng was a rank 7 transformation path Gu Immortal, an expert in ancient soul sect of the 10 great ancient sects, but compared to his guest, he was inferior in fame. Because this guest was Shi, he cultivated earth path primarily and transformation path secondarily. He was at the peak of rank 7, he was an expert of central continent known as the Immortal Monkey King. Then I will not stand on ceremony. Shi laughed. He stretched out his arm, lifting the wine vat on the table. Breaking the seal, the smell of liquor burst out. It felt like an intense flame had started raging. Instantly, in the huge garden, it was filled with the smell of thick alcohol. The alcohol was red in color, the vapor gathered around the vat, resembling a bright cloud of flames. Shi saw this and became joyful, praising, "Good wine. So this is the legendary Red Emperor wine. Brother Yang Feng, you could actually get your hands on this, you are quite impressive." Gu Immortal Yang Feng laughed loudly. "I'll not hide it from Brother Shi, I paid a huge price to obtain it from ancient soul sect's treasury. Come to speak of it, this was thanks to our ancestor. 300,000 years ago, a Gu Immortal from our sect became friends with a Gu Immortal of Eastern Sea, Wine Emperor. During the Gu Refinement Path Convention, they competed in refining Gu and agreed that whoever won would obtain the loser's creation. They fought for 81 days, having their respective victories. They were closely matched. This Red Emperor wine was created by Wine Emperor, he had lost it to our ancestor. Ancient Soul Sect of the 10 great ancient sects had ancient in its name. True to its name, the sect was very old, having the longest history among the 10 great ancient sects. 300,000 years ago, that was the medieval antiquity era. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, and Giant Sun Immortal Venerable appeared in succession during this era. A female Gu Immortal, Shui Ni, founded Water Path and built Spirit Affinity House. It was also during this era. Oh. Shi was intrigued. Wine Emperor, I know this person, he was a Food Path rank 8 expert, he was very famous in human history. His entire life's effort was in the creation of his 3 sovereign 5 emperor wines. Legend says that by combining these 8 wines, one can obtain the rank 8 liquor worm Immortal Gu. Using this Gu, one can turn rank 8 white lychee Immortal Essence into rank 9 yellow apricot Immortal Essence. After this person died, he left his inheritance behind. Currently, there is the Eastern Sea Gu Immortal Zui Xianxia, who became the 137th inheritor. Brother Shi, you are so knowledgeable, I am impressed. Cheers. Yang Feng raised his wine cup. Shi waved his hand instead. Drinking with a cup is not satisfying enough, let's drink from the vats directly. Okay, Brother Shi, you are very direct, I will do the same. Yang Feng patted the table, replying. But Shi had just touched the vat when his movements paused, his expression changed as he looked outside. An information path Immortal Gu had appeared in the sky above the garden. It was flying around but did not land. Shi's golden eyes shone. This is an Immortal Gu from my sect, Brother Yang, please let it in. This garden was not normal, it was exquisitely built, grand with white jade tiles, it was oozing with cold air, there were faint dragon roars heard occasionally. This was Ancient Soul Sect's Immortal Gu House, Frost Dragon Manor. Yang Feng manipulated the Immortal Gu House, opening a path for the information path Immortal Gu to fly towards Shi. After inspecting it, Shi's expression changed slightly. Yang Feng could not ask about the sect matters, he raised his cup and savored the Red Emperor wine. To think that Shirley took the initiative. Northern Plains Gu immortals are indeed battle maniacs. He tribe was just destroyed, and now they are starting to fight again. This time, the commotion is even bigger. All the Huang Jin tribes are ganging up to deal with the newly established alliance of Chu sect and Baizu tribe. Chu sect. Yang Feng was confused. This is a newly created sect. Do you know about Northern Plains Chu Du? I know a little, a strength path Gu immortal, known as Domination Immortal. That's right, he created Chu sect. This person is not to be underestimated. He used He Fan Grotto Heaven to forcefully resist Heavenly Lord Baizu's invasion. He even nurtured many strength path Gu immortals secretly. He has quite a force. Yang Feng frowned. After absorbing this information, he said, Strength path is like the setting sun, it is nothing much. But this Chu sect is probably the first sect in Northern Plains. This Chu Du is so daring. That's right. Shirley said, this is a good show to watch. Both sides have agreed to hold a martial competition. Northern Plains is really exciting. They are fighting all the time. Why was I not born in Northern Plains? Cough, cough. Shirley patted his own head. Oh, I nearly forgot. Heavenly Court has orders. We are to go and attack Star Form Blessed Land now. Why? Heavenly Court has already confirmed that Fang Yuan will not come. Yang Feng asked in surprise. As it turned out, after Ing Wuxia and the rest escaped from Heavenly Court, Fairy Ziwei had never given up on searching for Fang Yuan's traces. Fang Yuan's true body was not exposed yet. Even Prince Feng Xian could not make any progress. But using some clues in her immense capabilities, Fairy Ziwei managed to forcefully deduce the existence of Star Form Blessed Land. Star Form Blessed Land was inside Earth Abyss. It was in Ancient Soul Sect's territory. Fairy Ziwei specially asked Gu Immortal Shirley to complete a task. Shirley was a supreme elder of Combat Immortal Sect. Ancient Soul Sect sent Yang Feng to cooperate with Shirley. Shirley was following orders. According to Fairy Ziwei's plan, he was waiting in ambush. The moment Fang Yuan returned to Star Form Blessed Land, he would capture him immediately. But after waiting for so long, Fang Yuan did not even appear once. Not long ago, Star Form Blessed Land faced calamity. Fang Yuan made up his mind and ignored it. Fairy Ziwei noticed Fang Yuan's determination and deduced that if Star Form Blessed Land was kept intact, it would be of much help to Fang Yuan in the future. Thus, she decided to go ahead and order Shirley to destroy Star Form Blessed Land. Spirit Affinity House. Lake Heart Mountain. Feng Jin Huang's accommodations. Senior sister, you are amazing, you could refine even this type of goo. Qin Wan held the goo with both hands as she cried out excitedly. Feng Jin Huang had snowy skin, her eyebrows were long and golden, her lips curled up as she smiled. This is nothing much. She had Dream Wings Immortal Goo, her refinement path attainment was now Grandmaster level. Refining a rank 3 Mortal Goo was really nothing much. Senior sister, oh no. At this time, a Goo Master ran over with a flustered look on her chubby face. Qin Wan was unhappy at her demeanor. Sun Yao, you are an elite disciple of Spirit Affinity House, how can you be so panicky? Feng Jin Huang smiled, no need to worry, I am here. Tell me, what happened? Sun Yao breathed in deeply as she said, that Zhao Lian Yun is coming. What, Zhao Lian Yun? Qin Wan's expression changed, she looked at Feng Jin Huang worriedly. Zhao Lian Yun is an otherworldly demon, she has also inherited Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's true inheritance. Since she joined the sect, she had been your opponent. Zhao Lian Yun wants to compete with senior sister over the next generation fairy position of Spirit Affinity House. Why is she coming here to find you? Feng Jin Huang's smile gradually faded. I am not sure either. Go, let's meet her and ask, wouldn't that answer our questions? The three left the room, meeting a girl. This girl was dressed in white, like a flower by the lake. She had long black silky hair with a worried look between her eyebrows. She had clear skin and pupils like they were fused with the night sky, expressing worry and anxiety. Such beauty was comparable to Feng Jin Huang. It was Zhao Lian Yun. Junior sister Zhao, I wonder what business you have with me. Feng Jin Huang was the first to ask. Zhao Lianyun hesitated for a moment, determination shone in her eyes. Plop. At the next moment, she knelt down. Qin Wan and Sun Yao did not expect this, they gasped in shock. Feng Jin Huang was also quite shocked. Junior sister Zhao, why are you doing this? I really have no other alternatives. Please, please save Ma Hongyun. Zhao Lianyun said, as tears flowed down her smooth cheeks. Ma Hongyun, who is he? He asked you to come and beg me. Come, you can get up and tell me, don't kneel. Feng Jin Huang quickly walked forward, stretching out her arms to help Zhao Lianyun stand up. She had the magnanimity of a senior sister. Even though she and Zhao Lianyun were fiercely competing for the position of fairy, now that Zhao Lianyun was begging her, Feng Jin Huang did not look down on her, she offered to help her up instead. But Zhao Lianyun did not get up, she shook off Feng Jin Huang's hands, sobbing, right now, the only one who can help me is you, senior sister Feng Jin Huang. Southern border, Guyu village. Feng Yuan clenched his fists, gritting his teeth, he said to the two people sitting in front, Uncle, Aunt, you have already obtained the inheritance my parents left. Right now, I need some primeval stones, can't you help me? Aunt snorted, saying shrilly, that is not right, we did not take your parents' inheritance, they are with your brother. Your brother has a great aptitude, he has a far better future than you. I believe that your parents would do this too if they were still alive. Oh Feng Yuan. Uncle said in a calm and slow manner, I know what you are thinking, you want primeval stones to buy Gu refinement materials and refine Gu. But do you know how hard it is to refine Gu? How big the risks are? You are simply too young. Don't bear such unrealistic thoughts, just do your part properly. With your C-grade aptitude, stop dreaming and live your life realistically. It was winter now. Inside the warm room, Feng Yuan's heart was ice cold. He had been standing on the spot, after a short silence, he said, I understand now. He turned around and walked out. Behind him, Aunt criticized sarcastically, leaving like this? Not even saying goodbye, he is truly polite. Uncle was smiling, saying in a fake tone, Oh Feng Yuan, don't be so anxious to leave, stay for dinner. Feng Yuan did not stop, he walked even faster with firmer steps. From his uncle and aunt's place, he went towards the streets with many people. It was late at night now. Even though there was no snow, the cold air gave Feng Yuan a bone-chilling feeling. Next, he looked up at the sky, clenching his fists. In the sky, countless stars were shining brightly. Starlight reflected in Feng Yuan's pupils, his eyes seemed to be shining with life. Since I transmigrated to this world, I must achieve something in life, so what if I have C-grade aptitude, I can definitely succeed. Feng Yuan did not see that behind him, a figure was quietly tailing him, watching all the events unfold. The stars in the night sky were shining even more brightly, this figure's appearance became clear. It was another Feng Yuan. But this Feng Yuan's appearance had changed completely, experience and maturity was also deep in his gaze. Under his supervision, the entire night sky, the entire dream realm faded, as if there was a thick layer of fog in the sky, gradually, everything vanished. In the real world, Feng Yuan opened his eyes slowly, muttering, to think, that I could re-experience what happened in my previous life. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1192, Concession. Chapter 1192, Concession. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. Zhao Lianyun might be an otherworldly demon, but she has deep love in her. Feng Jin Huang's mother fairy Bai Qing looked through the window, a very far distance away, focusing on Zhao Lianyun, who was still kneeling in the courtyard. Zhao Lianyun approached Feng Jin Huang and begged her to help save Ma Hongyun. Feng Jin Huang was lost. After asking, she learned about Zhao Lianyun and Ma Hongyun's heart-wrenching story. Zhao Lianyun was begging for help, but regardless of what Feng Jin Huang said, she seemed to be fixated on this, she refused to get up. Feng Jin Huang had no choice but to find her parents for help. Her mother was a rank 7 female immortal of Spirit Affinity House, Bai Qing, while her father was the famous Feng Gu. Feng Gu walked towards Fairy Bai Qing. He did not look at Zhao Lianyun, instead, he looked at the sky, saying plainly, "Dear, can't you tell? Zhao Lianyun is guided by some people." Fairy Bai Qing's gaze flashed. "Do you mean Su Hao and Li Juning? Places with people will have competition for benefits." Spirit Affinity House had its internal conflicts too. Feng Gu was powerful. In the absence of rank 8s, he dominated the 10 great ancient sects. Nobody could rival him. But this did not mean he had no opponents. Competition in this world did not just involve fighting and killing. Su Hao and Li Juning were Feng Jiu's main opponents in Spirit Affinity House. The two of them were married too. Among which, Su Hao was a wisdom path Gu immortal, while Li Juning was known as the illusory fairy. Her power was extraordinary. In the previous life, when Feng Gu died inside the thieving heaven true inheritance's special space, these two immediately exerted pressure on Fairy Bai Qing and had a powerful stance. But afterwards, when Feng Yuan used spring-autumn cicada and ended up saving Feng Gu, history was changed. Feng Jiu's return caused great pressure on Su Hao and Li Juning. They were at a disadvantage. However, using Zhao Lianyun's influence, the two of them held their ground and were untouchable by even Feng Gu inside Spirit Affinity House. Hearing Fairy Bai Qing mention their names, Feng Gu admitted, "It is them. This was my mistake. Back then, I sent Su Hao to complete the mission for the thieving heaven true inheritance. I wanted to push them aside, but to think they actually benefited from it. Huang Er wants to be the next generation fairy. She was originally unmatched, but now, Zhao Lianyun appeared. As expected of an otherworldly demon, this woman is very intelligent and has a different perspective on many matters, yet she can get to the point and succeed in her unique methods. She is truly worthy of being Huang Er's opponent." This time, Zhao Lianyun is kneeling and begging for help. Su Hao probably instigated this. Zhao Lianyun wants to save her lover. She has to fight for the position of fairy. That way, she would have enough authority to use Spirit Affinity House's power. If Huang Er gives in to her, she would give up being the fairy. But if she rejects her, it would breed trouble. Feng Gu analyzed deeply. He easily exposed Su Hao's schemes. He was a sound path Gu immortal, but he had incredible wits. He had a keen perception towards these internal conflicts. Fairy Bai Qing rolled her eyes, saying playfully, "Dear, why would I not understand these? Our Spirit Affinity House's signature immortal Gu is love. Our sect values moving people through love. Su Hao asked Zhao Lianyun to do this. He probably does not expect her to succeed. But after Zhao Lianyun is rejected by Huang Er, others would sympathize with her." "Haha, my dear, you are so smart. I was unduly worried." Feng Gu laughed. Su Hao was trying so desperately to make Zhao Lianyun win and defeat Feng Jin Huang, and become the fairy of Spirit Affinity House. That way, he could use Zhao Lianyun's power to ally with others and oppose Feng Gu together. Su Hao had a good plan. All along, Zhao Lianyun's identity as an otherworldly demon was her biggest obstacle in becoming Spirit Affinity House's fairy. Because people were more willing to believe in those who originated from a similar background. Zhao Lianyun, who came from another world, was ostracized and guarded against. But after this matter, Zhao Lianyun's image in Spirit Affinity House would completely transform in the eyes of everyone. Even though Zhao Lianyun was an otherworldly demon, she loved a man of the Gu world. For this man, she fought for the position of fairy. She was not a vicious or ambitious person. She was really pitiful. Nobody was helping her. Her lover was in northern plains. He might die any time. These lovebirds might never get together again. This time, Su Hao made a good plan. No matter what decision Huang Er makes, she would still lose. In fact, to compete for the position of fairy, she has to reject Zhao Lianyun. Feng Gu said plainly. "Then we let her continue kneeling here?" Fairy Bai Qing asked. Feng Gu smiled. "No worries, she won't stay here for long. This is just a show." But Fairy Bai Qing shook her head. "I do not agree with this. Did you not see Zhao Lianyun's eyes? She is so determined and resolute. she is in deep agony. Do you think Su Hao would tell her about the truth? At this moment, Zhao Lianyun probably thinks that her only hope in saving her lover lies in Huang Er giving up this contest. She will definitely not give up, she will continue kneeling. Feng Jiugu did not speak, he looked at the sky, he still paid no attention to Zhao Lianyun. Feng Jiugu was a little regretful now. If he had known this, he would not have bought Zhao Lianyun back in the Northern Plains auction. Right now, she was Feng Jin Huang's greatest obstacle. Parents in this world still had the same wishes, they wanted their sons or daughters to succeed in life. Even Feng Jiugu with rank 8 battle strength was no exception from this. Even your mother pities Zhao Lianyun, O Huang Er, we will not advise you this time, how will you deal with this? Feng Jiugu was secretly anticipating as he waited. On the road to Lake Heart Mountain. Qin Wan kicked a rock along the path angrily, this Zhao Lianyun is so annoying. Is this how you beg someone? She wants you to give up the contest for the position of fairy, she has the nerves to say that. She is really shameless. But she really has no choice. She already explained that this is for the sake of her lover, Sun Yao mumbled. Yes, but even so, she cannot do this. Kneeling on the ground, refusing to get up, does she want us to beg her to get up? Seriously, oh, I am so angry. She even caused senior sister's home to be surrounded by spectators, causing you to be unable to go home, and have to roam out here. Qin Wan stomped, going crazy. However, she is really pitiful. I did not feel that last time, but hearing her words, I find that Zhao Lianyun is really kind too. Sun Yao shook her head. Hey, whose side are you on? You are speaking up for Zhao Lianyun. Qin Wan was furious as she pointed at Sun Yao, senior sister is the most qualified person to be Spirit Affinity House's fairy, Zhao Lianyun is an outsider, how can she? And you, Sun Yao, correct your attitude. Did you forget about how senior sister has been taking care of us all along? You actually said such words, are you repaying kindness with enmity? No, I have no such intentions. I just think that she is pitiful, no matter what decision senior sister makes, I will support her. Sun Yao waved her hand, explaining. Qin Wan calmed down a little, she started worrying for Feng Jin Huang, senior sister must be troubled now. This Zhao Lianyun really posed a good problem. If we agree to her demand, we will give up the position of fairy. But if we don't, people will say that senior sister is heartless, and people will sympathize for Zhao Lianyun and acknowledge her. Most importantly, the contest for fairy is not just decided by our seniors, it also considers the view of our generation's disciples. Every generation's fairy in Spirit Affinity House has to be acknowledged by everyone. He. Walking in front, Feng Jin Huang suddenly laughed lightly to herself. She stopped walking, Qin Wan and Sun Yao realized that they were at the mountain slope that they usually went to. Feng Jin Huang stood on the slope, raising her head as she looked at the stars in the sky. Next, she spoke, I will not concede. Her tone was plain, but Sun Yao and Qin Wan could hear her unwavering determination. Feng Jin Huang's clear eyes reflected the light of the stars in the sky. Winds of the night blew, caressing her face as her hair fluttered in the sky. She continued, even though Zhao Lianyun is pitiful, the title of the next generation fairy is my goal. This is the path that I have decided on, I will not change it for the sake of others. Northern Plains, Langya blessed land, Fang Yuan was inside his own dream realm. Inside Qing Mao Mountain again. In Guyu village, a young Fang Yuan was standing in front of Guyu clan leader. You want me to give in to Fang Zheng tomorrow on purpose? And lose to him? Fang Yuan stared with wide-opened eyes, growling. Guyu clan leader sighed, Fang Yuan, I understand that this is not your fault, Fang Zheng was the instigator. But you need to understand, he has been living under your shadow, unable to get free. He challenged you because his heart's inner desires are leading him to oppose you, to defeat you and break free from his childhood trauma, and obtain the heart of an expert. Fang Yuan lowered his head, gritting his teeth, clan leader, since you looked for me in secret, that means I have the strength to defeat him. That's right, you took a debt and pawned all of your assets just to luckily succeed in refining that Gu. This greatly raised your battle strength. But Fong Zheng has a great aptitude, he is taught by several elders, he has quite the skill, he just lacks some experience. Guyu clan elder said. A great aptitude, he. Fong Yuan raised his head and looked at Guyu clan leader, smiling in a mocking manner. Your decision is? Guyu clan leader was expressionless, looking down at Fong Yuan imposingly. Fong Yuan turned around and walked away. His figure faded into the shadows. He left with one sentence, I'll do it. Guyu clan leader did not speak, his gaze became dark as he muttered to himself, he conceded so easily, he must have other ideas. To play it safe, I should preemptively weaken him first. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1193, Gong Wan Ting. Chapter 1193, Gong Wan Ting. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Dawn. When the first ray of sunlight shone, the flowers and grass were still wet with dew. A blood-thorn snake slithered out of its cavern after the unbearable cold night, greedily absorbing the warmth of the sunlight. Ordinary snakes were cold-blooded, but the blood-thorn snake's blood was warm. As its temperature rose, it gradually regained its nimbleness. It stretched out its body and flicked out its tongue, as it started to look for food. It needed to get enough food today and digest them to cope with the next cold night. In this world, all living beings were struggling and fighting for every aspect of survival. The appearance of the blood-thorn snake was terrifying, but its nature was gentle. It did not eat meat and it fed on blood jaspers. Its tongue darted in and out, and soon, it discovered its food. Blood jaspers were translucent, like rose stones, hanging on the tips of stalks of grass. It was the dew from flowers and plants which had certain probabilities of transforming under the rays of dawn. If this blood jasper managed to avoid the blood-thorn snake's hunt and endure through the cold nights, after 7 days and 7 nights, it would transform into a small rank 1 blood jasper Gu. The blood-thorn snake quickly slithered over. Rustle rustle. The dense shrubs were shaking continuously, showing traces of a line. Within several breaths of time, the blood-thorn snake crossed 1,000 steps of distance and neared this blood jasper. The snake's head rose and was about to devour this delectable food when suddenly, a loud explosion sounded from the horizon. The blood-thorn snake shook in fear, its whole body fell down to the ground without any trace of strength left. Boom! 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 Explosions reverberated through the landscape like war drums. An enormous hull moved through the clouds and descended above this grassland, like the ruler of the world. This hull had a broad structure and magnificent appearance, with lightning snakes coiling around it and countless thunderbolts raining down beside it. Inside the hull, Anew Gu laughed heartily. Sure enough, Loud Thunder Hall is extremely powerful. In this blood battle competition, my Anew tribe has this hall to suppress the situation, we will definitely kill the enemies. Ha ha ha. He was a famous rank 7 Gu immortal expert of Northern Plains righteous path, specializing in sound path and had impressive battle achievements. His battle strength stood at the same level as Guan Chou of Guan tribe, unfettered scholar, and Pai Shui Han. Anew Gu had a small head and big belly, his body was disproportional, his eyeballs were popping out, while his limbs were dry as twigs, he had pale skin resembling a sick person, without any hint of blood in his face. Right now, Anew Gu was controlling Loud Thunder Hall, experiencing the overflowing strength of this immortal Gu house. He was extremely excited. Along with Anew Gu were several of Anew tribe's Gu immortals. Among them, a girl did not conceal her frown, covering her ears as she shouted, "All right, Anew Gu, stop using thunder sound. It is truly noisy, if you use it again, I will turn you into a toad." Anew Gu, who had been in high spirits, heard the girl's threat, his demeanor immediately disappeared without a trace. "Great aunt, I made a mistake." He quickly turned around and bowed in apology. The girl waved her hand, "Little Gu, you need to behave, we can't stand out in this blood battle martial competition. Yao tribe, Guan tribe and Lu tribe are the ones nearer to Chu sect and Baizu tribe. If we put too much effort, they will just watch from the sidelines and reap the benefits. Yes, Great Aunt, you are right. I shall listen to Great Aunt's arrangement. New Air Gu quickly patted his chest and assured. The other New Air tribe Gu immortals almost could not hold back their laughter. According to bloodline seniority, this Gu immortal with the appearance of a little girl was indeed New Air Gu's Great Aunt. The crucial point was that she was very powerful and had a trump card immortal killer move, which she had tested on New Air Gu since he was young. The trauma on New Air Gu was extremely huge from this, and he had developed a fear of his Great Aunt. Gong tribe's people are also coming. The girl suddenly turned around, under the amplification of loud thunder hall, her gaze easily pierced through an enormous distance, seeing another immortal Gu house. This immortal Gu house was similarly a hall, it was Gong tribe's Golden Dawn Hall, shining with brilliant golden radiance. When New Air Gu saw a female Gu immortal standing at the entrance of the Golden Dawn Hall, he immediately frowned. Why is it her? This woman looked to be in her late 20s, she was clad in dazzling palace attire with the lower hems touching the ground, her black hair was tied up high with jade and gold ornaments. Her skin was snow white, her eyebrows slender, her gaze sharp, and her chest was voluptuous and perky. She looked stately and beautiful, giving a feeling that she could not be offended. Gong Wanting. New Air Tribe's girl exclaimed in slight surprise, before quickly adding, come with me. New Air Tribe's Gu immortals immediately flew out of Loud Thunder Hall and went up to the entrance of Golden Dawn Hall. The girl greeted first in a cordial tone, Elder Sister Wanting, hope you have been well. Gong Wanting lightly smiled, Little Sister New Air Qian, good day to you. The two immortal Gu house stopped above Blood Plain, this was a rare scene in Northern Plains Gu immortal world. Next, the third immortal Gu house appeared, making this scene even more colorful. Divine Light Hall. Yao Tribe's immortal Gu house. A Gu immortal of Yao Tribe, Yao Yuaning, flew out of the immortal Gu house and greeted Gong Wanting first before greeting New Air Qian. New Air Gu could not help but secretly transmit his voice to New Air Qian, Great Aunt, it looks like Gong Tribe came prepared this time. Sending Gong Wanting over, even the current holder of the Longevity Edict, Yao Tribe, is overwhelmed. New Air Qian transmitted back her reply, Gong Wanting is Prince Feng Xian's official wife, who can dare to not respect her. Even if Yao Huang were to be present, he would also have to be somewhat courteous to her. But the person Yao Tribe sent this time is actually Yao Yuaning. Her nature is gentle and she is not proficient in fighting and killing, but is specialized in healing. It seems Yao Tribe also does not have the intention to put in much effort. Just looking at these Gu immortals, one could have some clues to the thoughts of each tribe. Last time, Gong Tribe had suffered the most in the battle at Iron Eagle Blessed Land, when Gong Air returned to the tribe, he had been punished. This time, Gong Tribe wanted Prince Feng Xian to show up, but their ploy was seen through by Prince Feng Xian. Gong Tribe could only choose the next best option, sending Gong Wanting. She was Prince Feng Xian's wife, she had rank 7 cultivation, with powerful battle strength, and was a genuine expert. Gong Tribe's main objective this time was to revitalize their prestige. Yao Tribe sent Yao Yuaning, a healing Gu immortal who was not good at fighting, and she had been appointed by Yao Huang. Yao Huang was friends with Heavenly Lord Baizu, so he came up with the Blood Battle Martial competition as an explanation to Longevity Heaven, his main focus was still on refining Gu. Some combative Gu immortals of Yao Tribe had been suppressed by Yao Huang, and could only grit their teeth with nothing they could do about it. New Air Tribe sent New Air Qian and New Air Gu as the main forces. New Air Gu's nature was erratic and was very aggressive, while New Air Qian was stable, experienced and very reliable. The main thing was that she could restrain New Air Gu. However, New Air Tribe also had the intention to forge ahead this time. So they did not stint on mobilizing the tribe's immortal Gu house, Loud Thunder Hall. But the final decision was in New Air Qian's hands. Next, Huang Jin tribes appeared one after the other. Lu Tribe, Yi Lui Tribe, Chanyu Tribe, Meng Tribe, Yuan Tribe, Nian Air Tribe, Murong Tribe, Guan Tribe. A total of 11 Huang Jin tribes, super forces who ruled over territories, and had undisputed influence to Northern Plains Gu immortal world. There had been 2 more tribes previously. One was Dongfang Tribe, it was a pity Dong Fang Chang Fan made it flourish, and it also was destroyed because of the failure of his plan to resurrect. It could be said that Dong Fang tribe rose because of Dong Fang Chang Fan, and also suffered their downfall at Dong Fang Chang Fan's hands. Another was He tribe. He tribe had many surviving Gu immortals, but they were annexed by Baizu tribe, their tribe name was discarded and they no longer were acknowledged by other Huangjin tribes, even being cast aside and disdained upon. Greetings to Fairy Gong Wan Ting. Like Yao tribe and New Air tribe, the Gu immortals of different tribes also greeted Gong Wan Ting. Gong Wan Ting's own battle strength made her an undisputed leader of the righteous path, and more importantly was her status, she was Prince Feng Xian's wife. Even if she were immortal, just this status alone was worthy for these Gu immortals to have such an attitude. Gong tribe actually sent Fairy Wan Ting over, such a ruthless move, they clearly want to suppress Yao tribe. Gong tribe's people like to look down on others, to be honest, I like Yao tribe a bit more. After all, Lord Yao Huang is of our Huangjin bloodline. Each tribe's Gu immortals acutely sensed the undercurrents in the righteous path forces, they were all secretly discussing, and looking forward to how Yao tribe would react. With Fairy Gong Wan Ting here, how could I, Yao Yuaning, command this edict? Beyond most of the Gu immortals' expectations, Yao tribe's representative Yao Yuaning directly handed over the longevity edict. Gong Wan Ting, however, refused with a smile. Yao Yuaning offered a second time. Gong Wan Ting again refused, except her attitude had eased up by a lot. Yao Yuaning offered the third time, and only then did Gong Wan Ting accept, looking like she was forced to. And the moment she took it, she placed it at the center of the plaque on the entrance of Golden Dawn Hall. Gong Wan Ting then continued, "Everyone, please come inside the hall. My tribe has already prepared some light wine and delicacies." The immortals all accepted her invitation. Previously, Gong Air had also invited others, but no one gave him face. Gong Wan Ting, however, was different, all the immortals knew that behind her was Prince Feng Xian. Even though the rumors of marital discord between them had spread for a long time, the immortals could not be careless. Each tribe's immortals entered the hall. Yao tribe was seated first from the left side, because left had the highest status, followed by right and center. 1. New Air tribe was first from the right side because they had brought Loud Thunder Hall. Other tribes were arranged according to the strength of the forces that they sent over. Who could have thought such an arrangement would make one person extremely dissatisfied? Why is my Nian Air tribe last? Does Gong Wan Ting look down on us? Nian Air Ping Ji was outraged, as he transmitted his voice to the tribe's senior Gu immortal beside him. Right now, it was not just Nian Air Fu who came, but also would path Gu immortal Nian Air Yifang. When he heard the words, he placed his aged hand on Nian Air Ping Ji's shoulder, and spoke expectantly and with encouragement. "Ping Ji, if you are dissatisfied, kill some opponents in the blood martial competition. At that time, when we mention changing our positions, no one will stop us, and it will also show our Nian Air tribe's prestige." "Elder Yifang, you are right. I will do so then." Nian Air Ping Ji clenched his fists, his eyes brightened with a sharp luster. From the main seat in the middle, Gong Wan Ting was secretly observing everyone, and when she saw Nian Air Ping Ji's expression, she smiled lightly in her mind. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1194, Not Kneeling. Chapter 1194, Not Kneeling. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. The Righteous Path's immortals had just been sitting for a while, when lone and demonic immortals also appeared. A huge gray cloud was flying over, upon which Domination Immortal Chu Du proudly stood at the front, behind him were two battle formations. On one side were Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, Li Si Chun, Immortal Wang and others. On the other side were Bai Zhu Ren, Bai Zhu Ling as well as some familiar faces of He tribe, among which the four top supreme elders were also there. The Righteous Path immortals' gazes went past the spacious entrance. Their glances swept through the enemy group of immortals, before they fixed their gazes on Chu Du. Several breaths later, a Gu immortal laughed, "Our righteous path shall win this battle, no doubt. What Chu sect and Baizu tribe, such a lineup dares to provoke our Huangjin tribes? Haha, that makes sense. The way I see it, we only need to be slightly on guard against Chu Du." The immortals talked happily, the atmosphere in the hall becoming relaxed. In contrast, Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, Bai Zhu Ren and others looked gloomy and worried. One would just have to look at the situation and they would know it. The righteous path had brought out 3 immortal Gu houses. Loud Thunder Hall was to the right, Golden Dawn Hall was at the center, and Divine Light Hall was to the left. In contrast, Chu Du's side only had a huge empty gray cloud below them. The stronger and weaker side was clear at a glance. The righteous path immortals were resting at ease with wines and delicacies inside the hall. But Chu Du's side was standing amidst the wind, only able to watch. The righteous path immortals talked and laughed, their morale was high. In contrast, Chu Du's side was silent. Only Chu Du had a relaxed expression. He had both brains and brawn, he was extremely shrewd, and had already anticipated such a scene before this trip. Right now, he was not anxious, he looked at a Gu immortal beside him. This immortal was tall and thin, folding his arms across his chest, he had white brows and white hair, and had an extremely cold and aloof expression. Chu Du transmitted his voice to him, "Brother Shui, you have been in seclusion for a long time, tempering your abilities, and possess astonishing attainments, but you don't have reputation. Right now is the time to make your name known, I want to hand over the first battle to you. After this battle, I believe your name will not only be spread to the world, it will likely go down in history." The Gu immortal surnamed Shui heard this, and bright light shone in his eyes immediately. "Last time, Brother Chu invited me to take action, but I was refining Gu and not able to come out. This time, I must make the world know of my, Shui Wu Hen's, name." The Gu immortal named Shui transmitted his reply to Chu Du, and then flew to the sky before hovering between the two sides. He still had his arms folded across his chest as he remained silent. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, the immortals pointed at Shui Wu Hen and jokingly spoke, "They sent some nameless junior to his death." Nian Er Pingji was just about to stand up and take the fight, but was stopped by Nian Er Yifang, "Be patient, the enemy only has rank 6 cultivation and has no reputation. Killing him won't be enough to awe these immortals. No need to take this fight." Ah! Nian Er Pingji thought for a moment and realized it was true, and did not get up. "Who wants to take the first battle?" From the main seat, Gong Wanting asked the group of immortals. A young Gu immortal stood up soon after, "I, Yi Lui Xiaojin, am willing to take the fight." Gong Wanting hesitated for a moment. She was inwardly thinking, Domination Immortal Chu Du is an extraordinary person, he actually sent a nameless character for the first battle, they are definitely not someone ordinary. If our side gets careless and we lose the first battle, it won't be good. Yi Lui Xiaojin was also a young junior, and came to the blood battle competition under the company of his seniors. He was also like the enemy, he was still unknown and had not made a name for himself. At this time, Yi Lui tribe's Gu immortal Yi Lui Huihong smiled, "This junior might only be rank 6, but he is talented in fighting and often pulls brilliant moves in battle. Even my tribe's first supreme elder has praised him repeatedly." Gong Wanting heard Yi Lui Huihong, it was not good to contradict and disregard him publicly, so she agreed, "Then we shall see Yi Lui tribe's valiance. I heed the command." This young Gu immortal turned around and walked out. When he passed by Nian Er tribe, he gave a deep glance at Nian Er Pingji with his golden eyes. "You!" Nian Er Pingji was provoked, and almost jumped up. But Yi Lui Xiaojin had already walked out the entrance. Nian Er Pingji had made his name in the battle at Iron Eagle Blessed Land, but many young righteous path Gu immortals were not willing to feel defeated, Yi Lui Xiaojin was one of them. This time, he also wanted to spread and establish his name through the Blood Battle Martial competition. The Blood Battle Martial competition's first battle was about to unfold under both sides' gazes. At the same time, far away at southern border, I have told you all the crucial information regarding Baixiang Grotto Heaven. After a bloodline descendant of Baixiang becomes a Gu immortal, this white form immortal snake can guide them to Baixiang Grotto Heaven. But Baixiang Grotto Heaven is filled with danger. Because Baixiang of the Heaven surveying 5 Xiangs is a demonic path Gu immortal, you need to be very careful when doing this. According to the information my shadow sect has gathered, Baixiang was a man of his word, and hated people who went against his wish, and was extremely tyrannical in the way he did things. Only Gu immortals whose battle strength met his expectations could talk and associate with him. You cannot stubbornly charge ahead in this trip, you need to remember when to yield. Wu Xie carefully instructed by Ning Bing. Shadow sect had already looked into the bet between the 5 Xiangs for a long time, and wanted to meddle in it. But inopportune time and coincidences made this plan progress very slowly. Naturally, the main reason was because Shadow Sect's full efforts were in refining sovereign immortal fetus Gu. Shadow Sect recruited by Ning Bing because they wanted to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. On one hand, they wanted to exploit her identity as a fate escapee, on the other hand, they were preparing to step into the bet. Bai Ning Bing snorted, I know what to do. Wu Xie was unfazed, still smiling, alright, go then. Bai Ning Bing quietly took out white form immortal snake. The white form immortal snake was slender and long, its whole body was covered in snow-white scales and it had a graceful physique. Its eyes were like jade, and on the 2 sides of its head were a pair of long whiskers, floating like celestial ribbons. It was a rank 5 mortal Gu and was very attached to Bai Ning Bing, which was likely because it was attracted by her northern dark ice soul physique. Bai Ning Bing began to activate her phantom aperture. The phantom aperture was illusory, but after it was activated, it turned from phantom to real. Shadow Sect had stolen this method from Heavenly Court and had studied it until 50 to 60% completion, as such, it had many flaws. Because of this, Bai Ning Bing could temporarily possess Gu immortal strength without undergoing tribulation. So she was only a false immortal. After leaving Shadow Sect for a period of time, she had not been able to maintain her phantom aperture, causing it to lose many of its effects and have limited periods of use. Ordinarily, Bai Ning Bing would be in her mortal body, turning into a woman. After her phantom aperture was activated, she would turn into a temporary false immortal, the effect of the mortal Gu would be suppressed at this time and her body would return to that of a man's. Sometimes a man, sometimes a woman, Bai Ning Bing herself felt awkward. However, among the immortals present, no one joked about it. Tai Bai Yun Sheng was kind-hearted, He Lu Lan was fierce and ambitious, and did not care about these details. Shi Nu was actually rather nervous. After all, Bai Ning Bing's success or failure would be of huge influence to Shadow Sect's following actions. Bai Ning Bing began to release his Gu immortal aura. The white form immortal snake sensed this, its whole body jolted before it gave a long hiss towards the sky. Its hissing was completely different from the sharp hiss of normal snake species, carrying a resounding and mighty aura. Then, the white form immortal snake flew under Bai Ning Bing's feet of its own accord, carrying him and flying towards the sky. He Lu Lan, Wu Xie and the rest stood at their spots, looking at this sight. They could not go as they did not have Baixiang's bloodline, and would only make things worse if they went. Everything now depended on Bai Ning Bing. Fortunately, to raise Bai Ning Bing's success rate, Wu Xie and the rest of the group had gone to Jade Pot Mountain and gave Ice Soul Immortal Gu to Bai Ning Bing. Bai Ning Bing had his first truly owned Immortal Gu. He looked down while standing on the white form immortal snake's back. However, when he saw the mountain ranges and the heavy fog, he suddenly recalled a scene back in Bai tribe. That was his first encounter with the white form immortal snake. The spirit spring was raging like boiling water. All of a sudden, the spring water rose up like a tidal wave. After it reached a certain height, the spirit spring scattered and splashed in all directions. The white form immortal snake flew out. I pay respects to great immortal. Bai clan leader emotionally knelt on the ground, and at the same time anxiously urged, Bai Ning Bing, why are you not kneeling down? I will never kneel before a Gu. Bai Ning Bing coldly snorted, his body standing upright and tall. Although the white form immortal snake Gu released an ethereal cold grandeur with heavy killing intent concealed within, Bai Ning Bing was not the least bit afraid. His two blue eyes directly stared at its snake eyes. According to the clan's secret records, once a Gu master obtains approval, the white form immortal snake Gu would fly with the inheritor and open a secret place in the sky. So, this so-called secret was by Xiang's grotto heaven. And the condition to receive approval was to become a Gu immortal. The question from a long time ago finally cleared up at this time. Unknowingly, I have already reached this stage. Bai Ningbing took a deep breath in, his blue eyes gazing high. Success or failure does not matter, I only hope Bai Xiang grotto heaven won't be too boring, this trip should be splendid. Langya blessed land, inside a secret room in a cloud city. Fong Yuan lightly let out a breath of air. In his hand was a dream path mortal Gu that had just been refined, and was still giving off warmth. His cultivation was still at rank 6 second heavenly tribulation level and had stopped here for the moment, unable to be raised. Because he had almost annexed all the blessed lands in his memories. There were still some remaining, but he could not annex those blessed lands because of his attainment level. Ever since he realized that dream realms provided incomparable help to this style of cultivation, he had immersed himself in refining dream path mortal Gu these last days. These mortal Gu, when paired up with unravel mystery immortal Gu, could form the immortal killer move unravel dream. With this killer move, Fong Yuan could easily solve dream realms and unravel them, raising his attainment in many paths. With unravel dream raising his attainment level, Fong Yuan could annex even more immortal apertures. After annexing blessed lands, his cultivation level would soar up, causing his battle strength to surge. After his battle strength surged, killing would become easier and he could obtain even more blessed lands. It would then form a feedback loop of constant benefits. Do not bother mentioning bullshit like whether killing is against morality or how it would influence one's reputation. Demonic path Gu immortals were direct and straightforward in this aspect. Fong Yuan had never thought of himself as a good person. The blood battle martial competition should have begun. I should participate a few times, kill a few Gu immortals and seize their immortal apertures, taking the final step to becoming a rank 7 Gu immortal. Although Eastern Sea has city well, and there are many blessed lands in the well, it is too far away. Moreover, I have already been there once, heavens will already knows of it. It is better to continue refining dream path mortal Gu while killing in the blood battle martial competition, it won't be too late to go after that. With this idea, Fong Yuan once again entered a dream realm. Verdant green trees grew in the rugged mountain path. A merchant caravan was traversing on the mountain path with difficulty. Fong Yuan was one of the members in the caravan. In the end, he did not yield and wanted to prove that with his ability, he could defeat his genius A-grade aptitude little brother. He also needed such evidence for himself. But Guyu clan leader did not give him this opportunity. He personally schemed against Fong Yuan and used some sneaky moves, causing Fong Yuan to suffer an overwhelming defeat. Finally, he became someone who overestimated his ability, being cast aside and troubled by everyone. C-grade aptitude does not have any future. Even if you won against Guyu Fongzheng, so what? He has a great aptitude, the future of the whole tribe belongs to him. No, he is our tribe's future. As an elder brother, you truly don't have even a little tolerance, you are actually making things difficult for your little brother. Winner takes all. Victory or defeat was decided, right or wrong was thus overturned, black and white was blurred. Fong Yuan was on the verge of being exiled from the tribe, he could only join a merchant caravan, laboriously working while continuing his cultivation. Stop, I am tired. This carriage is too bumpy, let's rest for a while. A young man's voice came from a carriage. But young master, we are still a long way from the next village. We have already rested 3 times on the way, if we rest again, we won't be able to walk out of this mountain before the sky gets dark. A steward of the merchant caravan stood outside the carriage and spoke with a bowed waist. Ping! There was a sharp sound as a lightning whip instantly landed on the steward's body, sending him flying. What did you say? This caravan is my clan's, I have complete management rights over it. You lowly servant, you dare to lecture me? The carriage's curtain was raised up, and a malevolent-looking young Gu master walked out from within. This servant deserves to die, this servant deserves to die. The steward kowtowed continuously. The whole caravan stopped. From ahead came questions. What is happening behind? Questions came from behind as well. What is going on ahead? Feeling countless gazes at him, the young Gu master frowned, as he shouted, "What are you looking at, you bunch of lazy slaves? If you look at me again, I will dig out your eyes." Fong Yuan quickly lowered his head. "You, yes you." The young Gu master suddenly pointed at Fong Yuan, "Come over, kneel down, be a stool for this master. This is your honor, I want to rest outside for a while." Fong Yuan raised his head, staring at the young Gu master with pursed lips. "I won't kneel." "What?" The young Gu master could not believe it, almost thinking he had misheard it. "What did you say just now? You won't kneel?" His finger that was pointing at Fong Yuan was slightly shaking. His expression was exaggerated, as if he had heard a joke. "Huh, you won't kneel? You are an ant-like slave, you still won't kneel?" He then heard Fong Yuan's words again. "No, I won't kneel. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1195, Young. Chapter 1195, Young. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Junior, take this move. Lu Hui shouted, a powerful aura erupting from his whole body. He raised his arms above his head, a grand radiance rose up from his body and rapidly condensed into a crescent moon in the air. The crescent moon was thin and long, it was pale white but covered in a gray halo. Good. Elder Lu Hui finally got the chance to use his move, Gray Rock Moon. This move is a well-known method of Lu Hui. That's right. Those that are struck by this move will start solidifying before finally turning into stone. Even their immortal aperture will also be contaminated, turning rocky. It is a truly troublesome move. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, Righteous Path Gu immortals were discussing with smiles on their faces. On the demonic path side, Xue Wuhen was only illuminated by the gray moonlight for several breaths of time before his expression changed greatly. He immediately felt the power of this move, and did not dare to be rash as he quickly used an immortal killer move. Strong cold aura coiled around his whole body, ice and frost attaching to his body. The gray moonlight turned the ice and frost to stone, but the ice and frost regenerated themselves. The gray moonlight was unable to penetrate through them and reach Xue Wuhen's body. What? He actually used an offensive killer move on his own body. Amazing! Xue Wuhen handled such a complicated thing with ease. He is quite clever. For the moment, he has blocked old Lu Hui's signature trump card. Go, beat him! The immortals in Chu Du's side cheered and applauded loudly. By contrast, the relaxed mood inside Golden Dawn Hall had now completely dissipated, and a bad feeling rose up in everyone's hearts. We are not going to lose to Xue Wuhen again, right? Even Elder Lu Hui cannot hold him down. Xue Wuhen is an unknown character, while Elder Lu Hui is a renowned rank 6 expert. As the immortals talked, Xue Wuhen wore the heavy layer of stone and frost, and charged towards Elder Lu Hui. Old geezer, you are so old, what are you doing not resting at home? Just die. Xue Wuhen pushed both his hands forward, instantly a wave of snow and frost rose up in the air. The Righteous Path Gu immortal, Elder Lu Hui, had to maintain the gray crescent moon in the sky. His hands were raised as if he was supporting the sky. He could not move and was directly submerged by this wave of snow. Xue Wuhen won. Lu Hui died. Everyone was surprised, they had not expected such an outcome. Before this battle, Xue Wuhen had already won 2 consecutive battles. He was injured and not in his best condition. In the previous 2 battles, he battled against Righteous Path Juniors, and could not kill the opponent. But now in this 3rd battle, he killed Lu Hui. The Grand Lu Hui actually died at the hands of a nameless demonic path minor character. Heavens, this is unbelievable. This person might only have rank 6 cultivation, but he truly has rank 7 battle strength. Where did this guy come from? I can't help but think of old ancestor Xuehu. This Xuewu Hen is similarly of ice and snow path. He truly resembles old ancestor Xuehu when he was young. He is still far from being qualified to compare to old ancestor Xuehu. But 3 victories in 3 consecutive battles, his name will spread throughout the whole Gu immortal world. Whether it be the righteous path or Chu Du's side, they were both discussing Xuewu Hen. Xiao Jin, don't put your loss to heart. This is not your fault, but the opponent being too strong. He actually killed Lu Hui. Sigh. Yi Lui Huihong consoled the young man beside him. Yi Lui Xiao Jin felt his right arm. His right arm was currently still in a frozen state, his whole arm had already turned black and blue from the cold, the intense chill was even affecting his bones and blood. Yi Lui Xiao Jin felt such pain that after his defeat, he returned to the hall and had his head lowered the whole time. As for Yi Lui Huihong's words, he did not seem to have heard them. Yi Lui Huihong saw this, and sighed inwardly, you are still young. But this setback will be beneficial to you. This shame will make you try harder, who can say what will happen in the future? Maybe your future achievements will be above them. The main thing is to not lose the confidence in yourself. As he thought of this, Yi Lui Huihong gazed at Xuewu Hen, who was standing alone in the air, and then at Nian Er Ping Ji who was unable to stay still. Can I go fight now? Nian Er Ping Ji impatiently transmitted his voice to his senior, Nian Er Yifang. However, Nian Er Yifang shook his head, this person has won 3 battles, there are many injuries on him and his state is not at its peak. If you kill him, it would be nothing extraordinary, but if you can't kill him, it would instead weaken your prestige. Moreover, the other side is not foolish, why would they let Xuewu Hen continue fighting? Sure enough, the next moment, Chu Du spoke, withdrawing Xuewu Hen from the battle. Nian Er Ping Ji snorted, even if he does not battle, I will go up. He won 3 battles, I will win at least 6 battles. Nian Er Ping Ji rose up and bowed to Gong Wanting, I request to go to battle. Gong Wanting's frown relaxed a little. The righteous path, which should have been victorious, was instead defeated thrice by a nameless character from Chu Du's side. This was not only a heavy blow to the righteous path Gu immortals, it harmed their reputation and was also damaging to Gong Wanting's prestige. Gong Wanting knew Nian Er Ping Ji was Nian Er tribe's current generation sword child, she naturally had no reason to not permit him. Nian Er Ping Ji took the stage, and shouted, who wants to die? The rising morale of Chu Du's side immediately stifled. Careful, don't be fooled by this kid's rank 6 cultivation, he can kill rank 7s. He made outstanding battle achievements in the Battle of Iron Eagle Blessed Land, he is also extremely savage, killing multiple Gu immortals. Even old monster corpse poison could not do anything about him. He is the current inheritor of Sword Saint Nian Er's true inheritance, he naturally is not ordinary. Chu Du's side was silent. Facing Nian Er Ping Ji's challenge, there was actually no one who dared to accept for a period of time. Youngsters at the moment, each of them truly are fiercer than the other. Chu Du stroked his forehead. Big brother Chu, let me go handle him. Xuewu Hen requested. How could Chu Du permit it? He already saw Xuewu Hen's weak state, not only were there injuries on his body, many areas of his immortal aperture had even turned into rocks, causing losses to many resources, as a result of Elder Lu Hui's immortal killer move. Relax, I have already made arrangements to deal with Ping Ji. Chu Du smiled, assuring Xuewu Hen. Granny Yin, I will hand this battle to you. Chu Du spoke to a black-robed Gu immortal behind him. This Gu immortal with a hunched back was holding a walking stick, and had been silent the whole time. Hearing Chu Du's words, terrifyingly bony hands stretched out of the wide sleeves and lifted up the hood, revealing an old, crooked face. He, let this old woman love you tenderly. Granny Yin flew to the battle, and stared at the young Nian Er Ping Ji with her turbid yellow eyes, which flickered with dangerous light. What, she is the rank 7 demonic Gu immortal Granny Yin. Chu Du is shameless, our side's Nian Er Ping Ji is only a rank 6 Gu immortal, they are actually sending a higher rank expert famous in Northern Plains. This won't do, call back Nian Er Pingji. Nian Er Yifang was also very anxious. Nian Er Pingji was a future star of Nian Er tribe who was heavily nurtured, and Nian Er Yifang was in charge of his safety in this trip. If he died here, Nian Er Yifang would have greatly neglected his duty. However, Nian Er Pingji's fighting intent burned even stronger when facing a strong opponent. He howled towards the sky, and disregarding the crazed voice transmission of Nian Er Yifang, he turned into an incomparably sharp sword light that charged towards Granny Yin. Snowy Mountain, First Peak. Now that I mention it, you need to be thankful to me. Haven't you discovered, your cultivation has risen and is going to reach rank 5? Lady Wan Shou said to Ma Hongyun, while holding a ball of lightning. Ma Hongyun shouted madly and hysterically, "You insane lunatic! You still want to shock me, you have tormented me so many times, you still want to continue. I don't want this cultivation, please let me go." Lady Wan Shou sneered, "Impossible." She then sent out the ball of lightning. Crack crack crack. Ma Hongyun's whole body shook, his eyes rolled over, his mouth occasionally opened wide, occasionally pursed up and occasionally turned into O shape, but all the time, he was shouting. Ah oh hark. He screamed until the lightning completely dissipated. Failed again, this guy. Lady Wan Shou's face looked extremely gloomy, she fiercely slapped Ma Hongyun's cheek. Ma Hongyun instantly fainted from the slap. Central Continent, Spirit Affinity House. Heavy rain poured down, causing the sky to darken. Zhao Lianyun was drenched, her vision was blurry and intense dizziness was threatening to make her unconscious. But she firmly held on, using every bit of strength in her body. Although she was an otherworldly demon with memories of a previous world, she did not have much understanding of the upper levels of the Gu world, especially of the mindsets of Gu immortals, whom she had rarely been able to associate with. As far as she was concerned, this was the only way to save Ma Hongyun. This otherworldly demon is indeed somewhat foolish. Li Juning had been observing secretly. Su Hao shook his head, I also had not expected her to be so persistent. It has already been over 10 days now. Li Juning turned back and looked at her husband, have you thought about it? Feng Jin Huang can use this to make a countering scheme against us, requesting Zhao Lianyun to give up on contending for the position of fairy, and then she will help save her lover. Su Hao smiled, how could that be? According to Feng Jin Huang's nature, she absolutely would not be able to do such a thing. These two are still young. Inside a dream, southern border. Ow wow, it hurts, it hurts. Fang Yuan screamed in pain. Kid, you know pain now? If you had knelt, you would not have had to experience this pain. A middle-aged man with a big beard was holding a goo worm in his hand, healing Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan raised his head and clenched his right fist, Uncle, what are you saying? A man only kneels to their parents, heaven and earth, how can we kneel at someone's order? Even if I die, I won't kneel. Not cherishing life, it seems healing you was completely in vain. I should not have done it. Big Beard suddenly became moody. Humph, I didn't ask you to heal me. Fang Yuan endured the pain and stood up, walking out of this tent without looking back. However, he fell down to the ground after taking just a few steps. The intense pain sent him unconscious. When he woke up again, he found he was still inside Big Beard's tent. Oh you are still too young. Big Beard took a gulp of wine, I have healed half of your injuries, and have left the other half as a lesson. Fang Yuan grumbled, weakly retorting, Uncle, thank you. But I have told you, this is not about being young, this is a matter of principles. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1196, Sword Heart Clarity. Chapter 1196, Sword Heart Clarity. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Above Blood Plain. Nian Er Pingji and Granny Yin's battle had attracted everyone's attention. Granny Yin was a veteran demonic path Gu immortal, she cultivated soul path and possessed bewitching soul immortal Gu, and her reputation had already been established long ago in northern plains. She moved like a ghost, gloomy winds surged and vengeful souls moved around her, sending chills down people's hearts. And Nian Er Ping Ji was a shining member of the righteous path's younger generation, the current sword child of Nian Er tribe. His movement was quick and his sword moved like lightning. Both sides had exchanged dozens of moves. At first they probed each other with mortal killer moves, then they used immortal Gu, then immortal killer moves, and now the battle was at a very heated stage. On the field, dark souls had covered most of the sky. And the white sword light representing Nian Er Ping Ji was already surrounded, despite it charging everywhere and the dark souls moving away. The overall flow of the battle was dictated by Granny Yin. Granny Yin is indeed a demonic path expert. The way she fights is steady and full of experience. Immortal Wang praised. Chu Du, however, frowned, silent. He was inwardly thinking, Granny Yin is a rank 7 Gu immortal, but she was not able to immediately kill Nian Er Ping Ji. Even though the situation looks more inclined towards her, Nian Er Ping Ji's sword light is still rampaging around without the slightest of hesitation. He still is thinking of winning. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, seeing his tribe's shining hope, a sword path genius, falling into disadvantage, Nian Er Yifang was becoming nervous, staring at the battle without blinking. If the situation looked bad, he would immediately make a move and save Nian Er Ping Ji. No matter the rules or reputation, as far as Nian Er tribe was concerned, Nian Er Ping Ji being alive was most important. He, such a tender body, you have nowhere to dodge now, except your death. A change suddenly happened at this instance. Countless vengeful ghosts suddenly covered all directions, as they surrounded the sword light that Nian Er Ping Ji had transformed into. Then, Granny Yin revealed her true body from amidst the countless dark souls, stretching out her withered finger and pointing at Nian Er Ping Ji from afar. Immortal killer move, bewitching soul art. Nian Er Ping Ji's eyes immediately lost their light, the freely moving nimble sword light completely dissipated and turned into his true body. He was floating in the air like his mind had halted, not having the slightest bit of reaction to the charging Granny Yin. He. Granny Yin laughed in satisfaction. She opened her mouth wide, revealing her sparse yellow teeth. Her hands suddenly enlarged by many times, dark wind coiled around her 5 fingers, her nails as sharp as needles. The fan-like hand descended on Nian Er Ping Ji's head. If this attack were to land true, Nian Er Ping Ji's skull would no doubt be crushed under his defenseless state. Stop it! Nian Er Yifang shouted as he rushed out of Golden Dawn Hall. However, Chu Du had already made prior arrangements. He saw that Granny Yin was firmly grasping the battle situation, and had already considered if she were to make a killing strike towards Nian Er Ping Ji, she would surely be obstructed by the righteous path Gu immortals. Therefore, he had already arranged his forces to lie in wait. Sure enough, when Nian Er Yifang rushed out, Haoxian moved out shortly after. Shameless fellow, you are interfering in a one-on-one battle. Haoxian shot out a bolt of lightning right at Nian Er Yifang's face. Nian Er Yifang slightly shook, an emerald wooden armor appeared, covering his whole body firmly. This wooden armor was Nian Er Yifang's immortal killer move, and it had extremely powerful defense. Regardless of how sharp Haoxian's lightning was, it could not even make a dent on the wooden armor. Instead, the wooden armor seemed to be rejuvenated as it produced fresh yellow and green leaves, like it had received many benefits. Chu Du immediately gave out a light gasp. He was surprised. What made Chu Du surprised was not Nian Er Yifang's wooden armor, as his wooden armor was already famous in northern plains and was his self-created immortal killer move, Sick Tree Spring Armor. Instead, it was that Nian Er Yifang had rushed out madly to save Nian Er Ping Ji. However, by using this move and blocking off Haoxian's lightning, he had missed the best opportunity to save Nian Er Ping Ji. Chu Du considered what he would do in Nian Er Yifang's position. His tribe's genius, a star of the younger generation, was at risk of losing his life, while he himself could choose to either block the lightning or move to protect Nian Er Ping Ji's life. But right now, Nian Er Yifang had chosen to protect himself. This action meant he did not feel it was urgent to save Nian Er Ping Ji. What was going on? Oh no! Chu Du's heart suddenly jumped, and he quickly looked at the battle. He was just about to warn Granny Yin, but it was already too late. The sluggish-looking Nian Air Ping Ji suddenly let out extremely sharp, mysterious light from his eyes. This change immediately froze Granny Yin's ecstatic laughter. Granny Yin's mind sent out warnings of danger. She wanted to get back to defend herself, but it was already late. An extremely stunning sword light flashed. Life and death, victory and loss, were determined within this moment of time. The dark souls were still hovering around, but Granny Yin was already starting to fall down, cut into two by the sword light. She was gazing at Nian Air Ping Ji with an incredulous look on her face, unable to think of how he had suddenly gotten free from her signature trump card. Bewitching soul art is Granny Yin's proudest method, which she used when she roamed northern plains, but it was actually ineffective against Nian Air Ping Ji. Chu Du and his group of immortals paled in shock. What's going on? Inside Golden Dawn Hall, the Righteous Path Gu immortals were both surprised and joyous. This is Sword Heart Clarity. It is an immortal killer move in Sword Saint True Inheritance, especially used to restrict Wisdom Path and other similar methods. Few of the Sword Childs in history could use it. Nian Air Yifang laughed heartily, not giving up this chance to increase Nian Air tribe's prestige. Yi Lui Xiao Jin could not help thinking, is he saying Nian Air Ping Ji is outstanding even when placed among all the Sword Childs in history? He was a genius of Yi Lui tribe, but unfortunately had lost to Xue Wu Hen. On the contrary, Nian Air Ping Ji had killed the rank 7 demonic path expert Granny Yin. Comparing the two, it was clear for everyone who was better and who was worse. This Nian Air Yifang is truly crafty. He clearly knew Nian Air Ping Ji's situation was of no concern, but still pretended to rush out in panic to save Nian Air Ping Ji. Chou Lao Wu mumbled behind Chu Du, feeling indignant. One had to say Nian Air Yifang had acted really well. Because of his acting, the Gu immortals of both sides had subconsciously thought Nian Air Ping Ji was in absolute danger. Even Granny Yin was deceived. No, maybe it was Granny Yin who was too confident in her immortal killer move bewitching soul art. Chu Du assessed internally, and this Nian Air Ping Ji is also not just a brutish person, he actually pretended to be struck by the ability, deceiving Granny Yin. The killer move he used to kill Granny Yin is also not simple, it is terrifyingly powerful and also extremely fast, it is virtually impossible to guard against. It should be one sword life, an immortal killer move used by Sword Saint Nian Air in his younger days. Come back quickly. Nian Air Yifang was in high spirits, but quickly and anxiously transmitted his voice to Nian Air Ping Ji. Nian Air Ping Ji had killed Granny Yin, but he had also suffered heavy injuries. He quickly retreated, but before leaving, he naturally brought the two halves of Granny Yin's body with him. One half of the corpse had Granny Yin's immortal aperture. This was Nian Air Ping Ji's spoils of battle. Chu Sect did not stop him, this was one of the rules stated in the competition agreement. It was like when Xue Wu Hen who had stored away Gu immortal Lu Hui's corpse. However, Xue Wu Hen might have won 3 battles, but he only killed the rank 6 Gu immortal Lu Hui. While Nian Air Ping Ji might have only won 1 battle, but he took a rank 7 demonic path Gu immortal, Granny Yin's, life. Thus, the righteous path side was slightly leading. Chu Du was feeling the pressure. The slight dominance brought by Xue Wu Hen had now been balanced out by Nian Air Ping Ji. Who should I send in this next battle? Chu Du was hesitating. Soon, the result of this battle reached Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan was still in Langya Blessed Land, cultivating. Nian Air Ping Ji killed Granny Yin. Fong Yuan was only slightly surprised before he accepted this fact. There were many genius experts who were able to achieve the feat of winning against rank 7 with rank 6 cultivation. But using rank 7 cultivation to fight rank 8 was extremely rare. Nian Air Ping Ji. Fong Yuan did not have any impression of this person in his memories. After all, in his first life, Fong Yuan was still a mortal around this time, and was not at all aware of the events in the Gu Immortal World or Northern Plains Gu Immortal World. What made Fong Yuan more interested was instead Xue Wu Hen. Precisely speaking, it was the loot in Xue Wu Hen's possession, that Gu Immortal, Lu Hui's, blessed land. Gu Immortal Lu Hui is an earth path Gu Immortal who has gone through 2 heavenly tribulations. His blessed land is suitable for me to annex. With this, my cultivation can also rise and reach rank 7. As he thought of this, Fang Yuan immediately wrote a reply. He took the initiative to request for Chu Du's help in expressing his intention of buying the immortal aperture from Xue Wu Hen. As for the invitation of Chu Du asking Fang Yuan to help, Fang Yuan used the reason of being in secluded cultivation to delay in a roundabout way. I need to raise my cultivation to rank 7 first, it won't be too late to join this blood battle martial competition then. Fang Yuan slightly shook his head, throwing the news of this blood battle martial competition to the back of his mind. The Chu sect alliance agreement he had was rather lenient. Even if Chu sect was annihilated, Fang Yuan could choose not to show up and it would not be a problem. Fang Yuan prioritized raising his cultivation, all the other things were secondary. Chu Du received Fang Yuan's reply. Fang Yuan did not come, which made Chu Du frown. Sigh, if Elder Lu Guanyi could come, I would not be in this difficult spot. Chu Du heaved a sigh. Xue Wu Hen was standing beside Chu Du, and curiously asked when he heard Chu Du, hearing Brother Chu's tone, it seems you hold this Elder Lu Guanyi in high esteem. Chu Du laughed, he had mentioned you in his letter, hoping you can sell Lu Hui's immortal aperture to him. Xue Wu Hen shook his head, I could not get Lu Hui's immortal Gu, but the resources inside the immortal aperture are my battle spoils. I don't know their value, so how can I sell them? His intention of refusal was extremely obvious. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1197, Sword Dragon Transformation. Chapter 1197, Sword Dragon Transformation. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Chu Du smiled. Deep down, Xue Wu Hen was someone he wanted to recruit to his Chu sect, so he had been giving him a lot of consideration. However, Fang Yuan was his collaboration partner, later on he would have to get Reckless Savage's true meaning from Fang Yuan to raise his strength path attainment. Chu Du was well aware of which was more important. In his letter, Lu Guanyi entrusted me to accomplish this matter. Chu Du thought to himself, while transmitting his voice to Xue Wu Hen, Brother Xue, collaborating with Elder Lu Guanyi is probably your best choice to get the resources in Lu Hui's aperture. How so? Xue Wu Hen asked doubtfully. Because Elder Lu has an upper extreme heavenly eagle. This eagle can go into blessed lands, it is better for you take away the resources in the immortal aperture and give the immortal aperture to Elder Lu, making him add on some resources as the price. Isn't this a win-win situation? Chu Du replied. Xue Wu Hen's eyes brightened. Upper extreme heavenly eagle. I have also heard of this immemorial beast, I did not expect Elder Lu Guanyi to have such a rare bird. Pausing for a while, Xue Wu Hen continued his voice transmission, I am willing to transact with Elder Lu. Right as Fang Yuan's plan was about to succeed, a change happened. A Gu immortal walked out of Golden Dawn Hall. It is a Lu tribe Gu immortal, Lu Xuanshen. Immortal Wang immediately recognized this person. He is coming down to fight. Chu Du's side cast their gazes. However, Lu Xuanshen did not go to the stage, instead stopped at the entrance of Golden Dawn Hall. Lord Domination Immortal, my side is willing to use Granny Yin's corpse to exchange for Elder Lu Hui's corpse and soul. Lu Hui's corpse had ended up in enemy hands, Lu tribe's Gu immortals naturally were not willing to see such a scene. The corpse was still alright, the main thing was the soul. Lu Hui's soul had not been destroyed. Therefore, Lu tribe's Gu immortals wanted to get back Lu Hui's corpse and soul no matter what. However, Lu Xuanshen did not have enough bargaining chips on him, and was also afraid that the other side would be very greedy and recklessly extort them. If so, then the situation would be quite awkward and they would be put on the spot. So, Lu Xuanshen and the other Lu tribe Gu immortals felt anxious, but did not make a rash move. After Nian Er Ping Ji killed Granny Yin, Lu tribe's Gu immortals saw hope in this matter. Lu Xuanshen had thus communicated with Nian Er tribe, and after giving up many benefits, had exchanged for Granny Yin's corpse. An immortal aperture was inside Granny Yin's corpse, and for the moment, was unharmed. It was only that Granny Yin's soul was already destroyed by Nian Er Pingji. Nian Er Pingji had a tough victory and simply was unable to hold back. Granny Yin's soul was completely destroyed by the immortal killer move One Sword Life. However, as far as Lu tribe's Gu immortals were concerned, Granny Yin was rank 7 while Lu Hui was only rank 6, this transaction was very likely to be accomplished. Chu Du's side heard these words, and there was immediately a stir among them, as they began to whisper to each other. Chu Du inwardly exclaimed, "Amazing, this Lu Xuanshan has quite the ability, putting me in such a spot." Chu Du did not have to turn around to sense the disturbance among the Gu immortals behind him. Granny Yin moved alone and had few relations with other Gu immortals, most of her relationships were even hostile. Granny Yin had come this time only because of Chu Du's prestige and the rewards. However, Chu Du knew these Gu immortals behind him hoped the two sides could exchange the corpses. The reason was that this blood battle martial competition had just begun. In the following battles, there might be Gu immortals whose bodies and souls would perish in battle. If that was the case, so be it, since there was no body nor soul. But if they lost their life and their soul was left behind in the enemy's hands, what could they do? Under such a situation, they could only rely on their side's Gu immortals to help retrieve their soul. If I agree to Lu Xuanshan's request, I can stabilize these Gu immortals' mindsets and lessen their worries. Otherwise, the morale will probably lower, which can seriously impact the following battles. Chu Du understood the importance of this matter. Most of the members of Chu's sect and Baizu tribe were lone immortals or demonic cultivators. They were not well united to begin with, they only took this risk because of the reputations of Domination Immortal and Heavenly Lord Baizu, as well as the rewards. If Chu Du were to refuse now, these Gu immortals would probably be self-conscious and be on guard against each other. Chu Du hesitated for a while, apologizing to Lu Guanyi inwardly, before he spoke, agreeing to this transaction. Lu Xuanshan was joyous, both sides exchanged the corpses. Xue Wuhen had lost a rank 6 Earth Path Immortal Aperture and Gu Immortal Soul, but obtained a rank 7 Soul Path Immortal Aperture. While Chu Du had also secretly made it up to him with some Snow Path Killer moves. So, he was quite happy with this result. Anyway, even if he interrogated Lu Hui's soul and obtained Earth Path Killer moves, they would be useless to him. After both sides exchanged the corpses, Gong Wanting also saw the importance of this matter, and took the initiative to negotiate with Chu Du. Because of this event, both sides had thus conveniently added a rule in the blood battle martial competition regarding the exchange of corpses and soul captives. After a delay of half a day, both sides engaged in another battle. Chu Du's side sent a Baizu tribe Gu immortal, it was the previous He tribe supreme elder. The actual Baizu bloodline members were still being taken care of. Before this trip, Chu Du had received Heavenly Lord Baizu's instructions to protect as many Baizu tribe descendants as possible. Because of this setback, Fang Yuan's plan went down the drain. Not long later, he received Chu Du's letter. The letter explained the reason in detail. Chu Du's tone was polite and even apologized to Fang Yuan for not fulfilling what he was entrusted with. Fang Yuan understood Chu Du's difficulty. He was standing in a Gu refinement secret room, mumbling to himself, "I don't have a use for a soul path immortal aperture. It seems I still have to make a move personally and seize the immortal aperture that I want, and advance to rank 7. However, there were many forces in the blood battle martial competition. Although Fang Yuan had familiar face, he still needed some new offensive methods. After all, he had proclaimed to the outside world that he was a transformation path Gu immortal. "I have Flying Bear Strength Immortal Gu, but the power of the Flying Bear transformation is quite poor. Fortunately, I have been considering this beforehand and have many possible solutions now." Fang Yuan's gaze landed on the dragon corpse in front of him. This was a desolate beast. Its whole body was shining with silvery light, its horn was sharp as a spear, its eyes were pure white, its fangs and claws looked fearsome, many layers of scales covered its body emitting metallic luster. This was a silver-colored dragon. The whole body was 20 feet long, its body was slender and its shape was fluid and graceful. It was like a piece of art, but it emitted a dense cold feeling of sharpness, as if anyone who got close to it would be pierced through by the surrounding air. This was not a false feeling, but it was because this silver dragon with 2 claws was originally a sword path desolate beast, sword dragon. Now, it was already dead, its sword path Dao marks were gradually dissipating, merging into the surrounding environment. This was the transformation Fang Yuan had prepared to cultivate, sword dragon transformation. The killer move sword dragon transformation needs dragon scale Gu, dragon horn Gu, dragon claw Gu, dragon eyes Gu, and so on. If any one of the Gu worms is an immortal Gu, then it becomes an immortal killer move. But I have changed form immortal Gu, this Gu is one of the core essences of transformation path. Thus, I don't need to refine immortal level dragon scale Gu, dragon horn Gu, dragon claw Gu or dragon eyes Gu, and only need to refine the mortal Gu versions, and use change form immortal Gu as the core, to form immortal killer move sword dragon transformation. Transformation path killer moves were extremely simple. It could even be said to be rudimentary. This was one of the advantages of cultivating transformation path. Immortal killer moves of other paths were not easy to deduce, but transformation path was completely different in this aspect. Adding on that Fang Yuan himself was a wisdom path grandmaster, not only did he successfully deduce the contents of sword dragon transformation, but also improved on many aspects, making the transformation faster and nimbler. Naturally, Gu Immortal Han Dong had a contribution in this. He was a transformation path Gu Immortal who specialized in cultivating spirit snake transformation. A dragon had a similar body shape and battle style. Although Han Dong died and his soul had dissipated, he had left behind a land spirit which retained some of Han Dong's cultivation insights. It was enough for Fang Yuan to take as a reference. He started activating the Gu refinement formation and began to refine this desolate beast sword dragon. The desolate beast sword dragon was full of sword path Dao marks and in itself was an immortal material which could be refined into immortal Gu. However, Fang Yuan's refinement path attainment was not particularly high, and with just this sword dragon, the immortal materials to refine the relevant immortal Gu were also not sufficient, so Fang Yuan was refining only mortal Gu to support change form immortal Gu. The refinement process went rather smoothly. Fang Yuan himself was a Gu immortal and was using precious immortal materials to refine some rank 5 mortal Gu. The success rate was naturally extremely high and could even be said to be quite easy. Some days later, Fang Yuan stood still and took in a deep breath, his mind was still. Suddenly, thoughts surged up like a storm, as Gu worms started activating one after the other. In just a breath of time, Fang Yuan's whole body emitted piercing silvery radiance. After the silver light dissipated, an elegant and exquisite silver sword dragon that was emitting a feeling of sharpness appeared. The sword dragon's eyes were white, but they flashed with intelligence. It was Fang Yuan. Immortal killer move sword dragon transformation has already been refined. Next, Fang Yuan began to get familiar with his body, brandishing his claws and fangs, or flying in the sky. His practice drills went quite decently. It was because he had already begun cultivating transformation path. Not only the flying bear transformation, many times, he had used change form immortal Gu to transform into all kinds of appearances. Although they had not reached mastery, he could be said to be familiar with them. After thoroughly getting familiar with this form, Fang Yuan began to test the might of this immortal killer move. First was the expenditure of immortal essence. Very little. The expenditure of green grape immortal essence to maintain the sword dragon transformation was not high. After all, it only involved rank 6 change form immortal Gu. Next was his battle strength. Fang Yuan had already arranged immortal materials in front of him. First was a piece of 100 years profound ice. He swept at it with his claws. Fang Yuan felt like he had sliced into tofu. He easily smashed this profound ice into pieces. Next, Fang Yuan moved to the subterranean adamantite and clawed at it. Subterranean adamantite was among the hardest rank 6 immortal materials. It immediately showed a clear claw marking that reached a few inches deep. Fang Yuan was immediately aware of the limit of the power of his dragon claws. He did not need to test it on the rank 7 immortal material at the side. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in the report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1198, Dragon Breath. Chapter 1198, Dragon Breath. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Gu are the essence of heaven and earth, man is the spirit of all living beings. Human intelligence was the highest among all the living beings. However, the way of heaven was to have balance, humans were highest in intelligence, but their bodies were extremely fragile. Humans did not have sharp claws, fur, wings, or gills. The strength of humans might not be the weakest, but it was at the bottom tier. They were fundamentally unable to contest with typical desolate beasts. Human skin was no different from paper compared to desolate beasts. However, when Fang Yuan transformed into a desolate beast sword dragon, he obtained the qualities of a sword dragon. Although there was still a difference from a true sword dragon, he was already far beyond the limits of humans. The initial concept when transformation path was created was: study all living beings and add the advantages of those beings to one's own body. Humans did not have sharp claws, so transform human fingers into claws. Humans did not have fur, so transform one's hair into fur. If one is without wings, then create wings, and fly like the birds in the sky. If one has no gills, transform into a fish, and swim in the depths of the sea. Naturally, by the current era, the concept of transformation path was not limited to just this. Using one path to project every path had become transformation path's main principle, imitating the advantages of other paths. As time passed, there were bound to be improvements. The wheels of history would keep on turning forward. Ever since reckless savage demon Venerable created transformation path, this path had not declined and was passed down throughout human history. Moreover, new ideas replaced the old, causing it to thrive even now. Fang Yuan lightly stretched out his dragon body, flying to the rank 7 immortal material. This was a giant dark ink stone. Among rank 7 immortal materials, it was considered very firm and had the characteristic of being difficult to process. His dragon claws slashed at it, but were unable to leave any trace. Fang Yuan had already expected this, thus he did not use only his claws. Instead, he turned his body and suddenly whipped his tail. Ping! A sharp sound resounded as the dragon tail fiercely whipped at the dark ink stone. Pain could be felt from the dragon tail, causing Fang Yuan to take a sharp breath of cold air. While on the dark inkstone's surface, a thin crack appeared. Just based on the dragon tail's whip, it was more menacing than the claws. This was an attribute of the sword dragon. Many dragons' characteristics differed in subtle aspects. Some dragons had extremely sharp fangs, their strong bite power surpassing the power of their claws and tail. Some dragons were better at ripping, their claws were their most powerful weapons. And the sword dragon was slender and nimble, the power of its tail surpassed its two small claws. And above the power of its tail was the sword dragon's speed. Fang Yuan had already practiced it. The sword dragon was not powerful in long-distance attacks, but its burst of speed from an unmoving state was impressive. Although it could not compare to Sword Escape Immortal Gu, it was not inferior to Fang Yuan's Blood Path Movement killer move, Blood Torrent. Moreover, because it was the sword dragon's own innate movement speed, Fang Yuan could change directions much more nimbly than Blood Torrent, and it was much easier to maneuver as well. And the sword dragon's strongest weapon was its dragon breath. Dragons could breathe out attacks. This was almost an innate ability of any dragon. It was like the upper extreme heavenly eagle, having the innate ability to penetrate space and enter blessed lands and grotto heavens. It was just that the dragon's breath was a very common ability, while the upper extreme heavenly eagle's ability was rare. Upper extreme heavenly eagles were very rare. Rank 8 Gu Immortal He Fan had also obtained one through a fortuitous encounter. Besides him, no one had obtained another upper extreme heavenly eagle in He tribe's history. Whoosh! Fang Yuan tested his dragon breath. In an instant, a white light flashed and shot at the rank 6 immortal material subterranean adamantite. The subterranean adamantite shook lightly before the dragon breath disappeared. The whole process was very fast, it was as if nothing had occurred. But the next moment, changes started to slowly appear in the subterranean adamantite. A clear crack appeared on the subterranean adamantite, the whole crack was incomparably straight, going from top to bottom in a slightly inclined angle. The subterranean adamantite was split into two by this thin crack. Then, due to the subterranean adamantite's enormous weight, the two halves fell down. Bam bam, two consecutive muffled sounds echoed. The boulder-sized subterranean adamantite had split into two and fallen to the ground. The cut surface was smooth, like it was directly split by the sharpest weapon in the world. Fang Yuan's dragon claws could only leave behind marks a few inches deep. But his dragon breath was incomparably sharp, cutting down this giant subterranean adamantite into two. It had to be known that subterranean adamantite was considered among the hardest rank 6 immortal materials. The might of the sword dragon's breath could be seen from this. Despite Fang Yuan being mentally prepared, upon seeing the two halves of the subterranean adamantite, he could not help slightly nodding his dragon head in satisfaction. Next, he continued to test. He used his dragon breath on the rank 7 immortal material dark ink stone. Dark ink stone was even firmer than subterranean adamantite. The dragon breath was like sword light, cutting open marks several inches deep on the dark ink stone. Fang Yuan continuously breathed it out 16 times before he reached his limit. For a short period of time, he would not be able to send out his dragon breath. He felt like a traveler in a desert who had not drank water for over half a month. His throat was extremely dry. If he tried to use dragon breath anymore, he had the feeling he would destroy his throat. Consecutively using dragon breath 16 times changed the appearance of the whole dark ink stone. There were sword marks everywhere on it. It looked somewhat scary. After resting for some time, Fang Yuan felt he had recovered to some degree. He breathed out again. Sure enough, he used the 17th dragon breath. Fang Yuan engraved this duration in his mind. He was continuously estimating, with just my own strength, I can use dragon breath 16 times in a row. After resting for about 5 minutes, I will recover and can continue to breathe it out. But it is just barely possible, and after breathing out the 17th dragon breath, I will once again fall into the previous plight and will still need to rest for 5 minutes of time. If I add some dragon breath mortal goo in this, I should be able to increase the amount of times I can use dragon breath. Fang Yuan had not yet combined Dragon Breath Gu in this Sword Dragon Transformation Immortal Killer move. Dragon Breath Gu was quite difficult to refine. This was because the material to refine this Gu worm was the breath of dragons. This dragon Fang Yuan obtained was dead. He had waited for a long time in Treasure Yellow Heaven before he found someone selling it, and he had to pay a considerable price to buy it. Only a living dragon could send its breath out, which could then be used as material to refine Dragon Breath Gu. Naturally, if the Gu recipe was modified and other materials were used to substitute for dragon breath, it could be done. But Fang Yuan clearly did not have such ability. Besides a living sword dragon, other living dragons also could be used to refine Dragon Breath Gu. However, such a Dragon Breath Gu might be the same in name, but would have some slight differences. Although it could be used, some other mortal Gu had to be added in to remove the differences. Transformation Path was somewhat particular about this aspect. Thus, Fang Yuan had specifically refined all the required Gu like Dragon Scale Gu, Dragon Claw Gu and so on from the Sword Dragon's corpse. By using these Gu worms, he could much more quickly and conveniently activate the immortal killer move, Sword Dragon Transformation. The testing of the killer move was finished. The results were in line with Fang Yuan's expectations. He had pondered deeply about choosing Sword Dragon Transformation, and he had deduced these results in detail prior to this. With just a rank 6 Immortal Gu as the core, Sword Dragon Transformation has a certain level of battle strength, but it is still not enough against rank 7 Gu Immortals. Normally speaking, rank 7 Gu Immortals had defensive methods that were stronger than Dark Ink Stone. Fang Yuan used the strongest weapon of his Sword Dragon Transformation, Dragon Breath, but was only able to deform this Dark Ink Stone. This Sword Dragon Transformation was not sufficient for display in the Blood Battle Martial competition. Fang Yuan was well aware of this. He naturally had follow-up methods. Canceling his transformation, he flew out of his cloud city and soon arrived in front of Xianxia Land Spirit. Fang Yuan directly expressed his intent. Greetings to First Supreme Elder, I am here to exchange for sect contribution points. Xianxia Land Spirit's eyes flashed with joy. he knew Fang Yuan had obtained Heifan Grotto Heaven, had the status of an inheritor of Thieving Heaven, wrecked 88 True Yang building and definitely had many good things in his hands. And for Langya's sect to develop, it naturally needed better and more precious cultivation resources. However, Langya Land's spirit could not force other Gu immortals to hand over their resources, this would conflict with their interests, and Langya's sect would then fall apart. It is good you have such thoughts. Langya Land's spirit was greatly interested. What do you want to contribute to the sect this time? First, take a look at this. Fang Yuan brought out an item. A Gu immortal soul. Langya Land's spirit frowned. Souls of Gu immortals could be treated as a type of immortal material, and had more value if they were of a soul path Gu immortal. There was even more value in the cultivation memories in the Gu immortal soul. Gu immortal souls were naturally not common. Many Gu immortals had methods to detonate their soul. Shadow sect were most adept in this. Back then, when Feng Jiugu had battled Qin Bai Sheng before he recovered his memories, he had sensed the latter had a powerful soul detonation method, and thus let go of Qin Bai Sheng, not willing to fight to such a desperate extent. When Gu immortals battle, it would not be easy for them to hold back. Just like when Yen Er Ping Ji killed Granny Yin, he directly destroyed her soul. Langya Land's spirit accepted this Gu immortal soul, but he found this soul was already tampered with by Fang Yuan and could no longer be soul searched, only being used as immortal material. Like this Gu immortal soul can only exchange for 100 contribution points. Langya Land's spirit said with slight disappointment. Fang Yuan, however, smiled. No, I think the price can be slightly higher. We can place this Gu immortal soul in Dang Hun Mountain and turn it into Guts Gu. Gu immortal souls are extraordinary, they are supreme goods, this will definitely turn into a large sum of Guts Gu. Recently, we have not been able to increase the production of Guts Gu. With this Gu immortal soul, we can definitely satisfy the Rockman tribe's requests. Langya Land's spirit came to a realization and nodded. It is indeed true. He estimated the price again and said, this rank 6 Gu immortal soul can be considered as 210 sect contribution points then. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1199, Huge Sale. Chapter 1199, Huge Sale. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Fang Yuan nodded in agreement. This price was fair, the value of the Gu immortal soul had increased because of Guts Gu. Since the Four Races Alliance was set, the Rockman tribe below the northern icy plain requested for a large amount of Guts Gu as they had an extremely urgent need for them. However, Guts Gu had always been sold at a fixed price in Treasure Yellow Heaven. This price could not be reduced, after all, they had to consider the long term. Currently, although the Rockman tribe's relation with Langya's sect was close, most of the Guts Gu were still sold at Treasure Yellow Heaven. Because of the monopoly on Guts Gu, they could not only exchange Guts Gu for immortal essence stones, but also exchange for many immortal materials and other resources. In the resource-scarce northern icy plain, the payment the Rockman tribe could provide was not able to satisfy Langya's sect's development requirements. For the benefit of the whole sect, Langya Land's spirit would not make the Rockman tribe the main trade partner. The Rockman tribe was dissatisfied but had no choice regarding this. In short, the production of Guts Gu was far from enough to meet the demand in the market. Especially in regards to southern border, because of the righteous path Gu immortals exploring the giant dream realm repeatedly, they had excessive demands for the Guts Gu in Treasure Yellow Heaven. This even created a black market for Guts Gu. Some Guts Gu were resold at a much higher price. Langya's sect had repeatedly raised the price of Guts Gu, but the item was still extremely popular. The whole market was like an insatiable monster, and even though Langya's sect was already putting full effort in producing Guts Gu, it simply was unable to satisfy the terrifying appetite of this monster. Among Fang Yuan's revenue sources, the profits from the Guts Gu trade had already soared far ahead, entering its own level. Guts Gu was the greatest contributor to Fang Yuan being able to repeatedly use rank 7 Immortal Gu in battle and easily replenishing his reserves of green grape immortal essence at set intervals. Langya Land's spirit received this Gu immortal soul and spoke, man is the spirit of all living beings. With this Gu immortal soul, we can indeed increase the production of guts Gu to a huge degree next time. Unfortunately, Gu immortal souls can only be found by fortunate circumstances and not sought out. In the future, the primary investment for this aspect is still in Taichio. Fang Yuan, if you are free, make a few trips to Taichio. Desolate beast and desolate plant souls might be far inferior to Gu immortal souls, but we can offset it with quantity and the source is also stable. With you taking action, we should be able to develop even more quickly in Taichio. Langya Land Spirit thought highly of Fang Yuan's ability. However, Fang Yuan replied, I will be going to take part in blood battle martial competition soon. I am afraid I won't have time to split my attention. This is a second Gu immortal soul, I hope First Supreme Elder can verify its quality. Second. Langya Land Spirit raised his eyebrows, but was not surprised. He knew some details about Fang Yuan, and was not surprised at Fang Yuan selling some Gu immortal souls. This is a Featherman Gu immortal soul. When Langya Land Spirit inspected it, he was slightly surprised. Variant humans were suppressed, variant human Gu immortals were extremely rare. He had not expected Fang Yuan to have a Featherman Gu immortal soul. This is your kill? Langya Land Spirit casually asked. Fang Yuan smiled, right. This Gu immortal soul was of a Featherman, Zhengling, the previous soul was Xianxia's. Langya's sect was a hairy man sect. Regarding an unknown Featherman Gu immortal soul, Langya Land Spirit decided to take it and did not have the intention to investigate further. Thus, Fang Yuan gained several hundred contribution points. Immediately afterwards, he brought out a third Gu immortal soul. Langya Land Spirit smiled, it seems you intend to sell a lot today. Alright, just take out all the Gu immortal souls you want to sell. Alright. Fang Yuan started taking out Gu immortal souls one after the other. He truly had many Gu immortal souls. There were souls of Dongfang Changfan, Xianxia, Zhengling and others from before. Later, in Hei Fan Grotto Heaven, he killed a group. Then finally, he received even more souls in the Turbulent Flow Sea area. When Fang Yuan took out 3 Gu immortal souls in a row, Langya Land Spirit smiled. When Fang Yuan took out 6, Langya Land Spirit was surprised, he subconsciously stood a little from his seat, as if he wanted to come closer to check. When Fang Yuan took out the 10th Gu immortal soul, Langya Land Spirit's expression changed, he started pointing at Fang Yuan, how did you kill so many people? Fang Yuan smiled, it was just luck. He then continued to take out Gu immortal souls. Finally, when Langya Land Spirit saw Gu immortal souls all around in the surroundings, he was extremely shocked. I finally understand why you are not able to blend in with humans and sided with us variant humans. Langya Land Spirit was left speechless. You only have rank 6 cultivation. Langya Land Spirit knew details about Fang Yuan, because familiar face was given to Fang Yuan by him. How long has it been since you became an immortal? You also still had to travel around here and there to revive yourself. Killing so many people, you are simply like Spectral Soul Demon Venerable when he was young. Fang Yuan gave a forced smile when he heard the name Spectral Soul. I am contributing all these souls to the sect. Besides this, I also have many cultivation insights, Gu recipes of all paths, immortal Gu recipes, killer moves and immortal killer moves. Even battlefield killer moves as well as up-to-date maps of each region, which will make it more convenient for my fellow sect members to move in the outside world. Fang Yuan was undergoing a huge sale. Langya Blessed Land's history was extremely long, it had incomparably rich treasures which were even coveted by Heavenly Court and always in the minds of Shadow Sect. But Fang Yuan had killed so many people, and the things he obtained from soul searching were also extremely abundant. Most of the treasures in Langya Blessed Land were payment received in the past by Long-Hair Ancestor by refining Gu for others. While some were items purchased by Langya Land Spirit through Treasure Yellow Heaven. Among these treasures, the former were stored ages ago. Long-Hair Ancestor was a person from 300,000 years ago, a figure of the medieval antiquity era. And the latter could be sold at Treasure Yellow Heaven, one could imagine that the top quality goods among them were sparse, although they would also have rare items. As for these things Fang Yuan contributed, most of them were the entire foundation of the Gu immortals. These things were as precious as life to them. Not to mention that they were new creations that would also not be sold for no reason in Treasure Yellow Heaven. In this regard, Xianxia Land Spirit did not reject any offers. He was different from the previous Xianxia Land Spirit. The previous Xianxia Land Spirit was only interested in refining Gu, while he was brimming with ambitions, creating Xianxia sect and wholeheartedly trying to make hairy men the rulers of the world, restoring their glory from the immemorial Antiquity era and remote Antiquity era. Currently, Xianxia sect primarily used refinement path. Most of the hairy man Gu immortals cultivated transformation path as well. Xianxia sect wanted to become a large sect, completing Xianxia Land Spirit's ambition. For this they needed to incorporate various kinds of things and possess Gu immortals of all paths. Like the great Huangjin tribe super forces of northern plains, the 10 great ancient sects of central continent and so on. Fang Yuan's sect contribution points rose steeply. In another cloud city, 12th Hair was in the midst of refining Gu. Oh no, there is an error. Suddenly, his expression changed as the fire he was controlling suddenly weakened. He quickly activated Gu worms, spurting out blood into the fire. Whoosh! The fire burned high once again. 12th Hair was pale, his body shivering uncontrollably. He had just been injured by the backlash caused by failing in Gu refinement. Blood was slowly seeping out of his 7 orifices, causing the hair on his whole body to moisten with blood. His wide-opened eyes were filled with traces of blood, as they firmly focused on the fire. After a while, the burning fire suddenly erupted and disappeared. The refinement path Gu formation opened up, revealing over 100 self-will Gu. The hairy man Gu immortals raised by the previous Xianxia Land Spirit had extremely weak battle strength, but had strong Gu refinement ability. These self-will Gu were only mortal Gu, but they were rank 5. 12th Hair could refine over 100 of these rank 5 self-will Gu at once, revealing his extraordinary refinement path attainment. 12th Hair thought to himself that it was a close shave. He rejoiced, fortunately, I sacrificed myself to make up for the mistake. Otherwise, these self-will Gu would be destroyed. Not only would it waste the effort I spent over these last few days to refine these Gu, I would also have to compensate for it with 3 times the refinement materials. To increase the production of self-will Gu, Fang Yuan not only used his sect contribution points to attract other hairy man Gu immortals to refine them for him, he also supplied them immortal materials out of his own pockets, letting these hairy man Gu immortals use these immortal materials to refine mortal Gu. The hairy man Gu immortals no longer had disdain and disgust towards Fang Yuan like before. Fang Yuan possessed rank 8 battle strength, causing these hairy man Gu immortals to be filled with respect. Moreover, after such a strong financial ability was revealed, these hairy man Gu immortals accepted the difference between them and Fang Yuan even more. Strong dizziness assaulted 12th Hair's mind. Refining self-will Gu 11 times without pausing is truly too consuming on the body and mind. The mistake just now is a warning that I need to rest. I need to quickly recover and accept some of these self-will Gu refinement assignments later to earn more immortal essence stones. 12th Hair had a bitter expression when he thought of immortal essence stones, heaving a deep sigh. Desolate beasts are not easy to raise. These desolate beasts all have great appetites. There is a huge burden on me every month to feed and raise them. More importantly, beast enslavement immortal Gu is only lent to me. Every time I borrow it, I will have to pay with sect contribution points according to the period of time. Considering the long term, I definitely need to buy this beast enslavement immortal Gu. But rank 6 beast enslavement immortal Gu needs up to 10,000 sect contribution points. 12th Hair took out an information path Gu worm. This Gu worm had one use, to display the sect contribution points of all Gu immortals in Xianxia sect and rank them accordingly. Simply put, it was Xianxia sect's contribution list. 12th Hair looked into it with his consciousness and easily found his name in the upper half of the list. Then he saw a series of numbers beside his name. Over 600 sect contribution points, but I am still way too far from my target. 12th Hair gave a bitter smile, feeling he had a long way to go. But the other hairy man Gu immortals are also similar to me, some are even worse than me. My advantage lies in that I cultivate enslavement path as well, and now already have several desolate beasts with me. I can obtain sect contribution points more easily than others. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1200, Dragon Breath Immortal Gu. Chapter 1200, Dragon Breath Immortal Gu. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. That's right, this is my advantage. I need to prioritize my strengths from now on and make full use of my talents in battle. I can use this to break the deadlock and drive up my cultivation speed. According to this development, my strength will continue to grow and the sect will need me more often. When I have strength like Elder Fong Yuan, the sect contribution points will be solely mine to take. Cheer up, these days will keep on improving. 12th Hair, you need to continue working hard and reach your peak in life. 12th Hair's mood changed, and his fighting spirit gradually returned. As he thought of Fong Yuan, he subconsciously glanced at the first name of Xianxia sect's contribution list. Last time, because of the Four Races Alliance, Fong Yuan had obtained 1,000 sect contribution points which had caused the hairy man Gu immortals' mouths to water in envy. But recently, because Fong Yuan had issued large numbers of Gu refinement tasks, his sect contribution points had been continuing to dwindle, and quickly at that. Fong Yuan's name still occupied first on the list, but the gap with the second-ranked hairy man Gu immortal was getting smaller and smaller. A lot of hairy man Gu immortals were waiting for the time when Fong Yuan's name was surpassed. Fong Yuan was a human Gu immortal possessing rank 8 battle strength. Surpassing him at the contribution list would give a different sensation to the hairy man Gu immortals. It would be an enormous glory. However, the next moment, 12th Hair's whole body suddenly stiffened. He remained still like a stone statue. Because he saw the number behind Fong Yuan's name. Over 15,000 sect contribution points, how could it be? 12th Hair almost felt like he was hallucinating. Ever since Xianxia sect was established, there had been no one who had obtained so many sect contribution points. At most, at one time, Fong Yuan's sect contribution points had reached above 2,000, before it started rapidly falling. Now, Fong Yuan's sect contribution points had passed 15,000. Unbelievable. This was an unprecedented record. 12th Hair's heart shook wildly, but the following scene made him even more shocked. Fong Yuan's sect contribution points were continuously rising. 15,000, 18,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 60,000. The number kept on rising steeply. It surpassed 80,000. 12th Hair was stupefied at the sight. What made him even more astonished was that Fong Yuan's sect contribution points still showed no signs of stopping. When it reached over 90,000, suddenly, Fong Yuan's total sect contribution points decreased by over 70,000. Only over 10,000 was left now. What is happening? Could it be, I actually refined Gu so much that I am starting to hallucinate? This is a dream. Ah, no. 12th Hair suddenly shook and snapped back to awareness. Over 70,000 sect contribution points suddenly disappeared. Fong Yuan definitely exchanged for an immortal Gu. No, he did not exchange for my beast enslavement immortal Gu, right? 12th Hair quickly took out another information path Gu worm and placed his consciousness in it. After inspecting, he let out a heavy breath of relief, so he did not exchange for beast enslavement immortal Gu, but a rank 7 immortal Gu. It is good as long as it is not beast enslavement immortal Gu. That was seriously a huge scare. 12th Hair patted his chest, his whole body easing up. But the moment he relaxed, his eyes rolled backwards as he fainted on the spot. He had suffered injuries during the Gu refinement process, and his mood had swung up and down at this moment. He naturally would fall unconscious after relaxing. Achieving his target, Fong Yuan returned to his cloud city. Inside a secret room, he took out a completely new immortal Gu. This Gu resembled light purple-colored fog in the form of a dragon. It did not have a fixed shape and was floating around. Rank 7 immortal Gu, Dragon Breath. Fang Yuan had finally chosen Sword Dragon transformation because Langya sect's treasury had this immortal Gu. To exchange for this immortal Gu, Fang Yuan had to sell all his Gu immortal souls along with large amounts of cultivation information he had obtained from soul searching. Naturally, Fang Yuan had withheld some of the contents. Like Dong Fang Chang Fan's wisdom path methods, He Fan true inheritance's important details, and so on. This had sharply raised Fang Yuan's sect contribution points to above 90,000. In the near future, this amount would be Fang Yuan's peak, difficult to surpass. Then, Fang Yuan used over 70,000 sect contribution points to exchange for the rank 7 transformation path Immortal Gu, Dragon Breath. In just a short while, his sect contribution points had fallen to over 10,000. But he still occupied first place on the contribution list. The second-ranked Gu Immortal on the contribution list only had 4 digits in terms of contribution points. The gap had been widened by a huge margin. Fang Yuan's position was firmly in place like a mountain. Naturally, Fang Yuan did not care about the sect contribution list. He also did not know 12th Heir had received a great impact from this event and had fallen unconscious. If he knew, Fang Yuan would think he was overthinking it. Not all Immortal Gu in Langya Blessed Land could be exchanged. Beast Enslavement Immortal Gu was on the exchange list, but Langya Land Spirit had clearly left it behind for 12th Heir. Even if Fang Yuan wanted to exchange for it, he would not be able to. Besides this, rank 7 Immortal Gu Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was also not for sale. This Immortal Gu was originally Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable's Immortal Gu, later it was refined by Long Hair Ancestor up to rank 8 and was merged into the rank 8 Immortal Gu House Refinement Cauldron. Some time ago, Shadow Sect had invaded Langya Blessed Land, destroying Refinement Cauldron and seizing many of the core Immortal Gu. Although Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus remained, it had been damaged and had fallen from rank 8 to rank 7. If Fang Yuan wanted to exchange for this Immortal Gu, he would have to pay a very large price that could move Langya Land Spirit's mind. However, Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus would not be of much help to Fang Yuan. He had calculated that after he raised his cultivation to rank 7 and his Immortal Essence started producing Red Date Immortal Essence, it would be sufficient. It was not worth it to pay a greater price for just Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Fang Yuan spent some time before he successfully integrated this rank 7 Dragon Breath Gu into his Immortal Killer move, Sword Dragon Transformation. Transformation Path Immortal Killer moves were essentially very simple. Dragon Breath Gu was a natural component of Sword Dragon Transformation. What's more, Fang Yuan was a Transformation Path Grandmaster. With this rank 7 Dragon Breath Immortal Gu, Fang Yuan simply did not need any Dragon Breath Mortal Gu. Like in He Fan's True Inheritance, He Fan had really wanted to obtain Immortal Level Day Gu and Month Gu. Because then, when he activated Days Pass like Years and similar Immortal Killer moves, he would not need to spend so many Mortal Day Gu and Month Gu. Having a relevant Immortal Gu made it extremely convenient. It also reduced the difficulty of controlling the killer move. Its effect would also have a large boost. Taking a deep breath, Fang Yuan tried Sword Dragon Transformation again. Silver light burst out, shining towards the sky. Just looking at this, Fang Yuan knew that Sword Dragon transformations might have increased by multiple times. From within the silvery light, a sword dragon revealed its figure. Its body was more than double the size of before, reaching over 40 feet. Its eyes were still white, its scales were much wider and thicker than before, there were now 2 more claws, reaching a total of 4 claws now. The dragon horn protruded out further, piercing towards the sky. Fang Yuan inspected all over and saw that every aspect had received a huge boost in quality. After adding the rank 7 Dragon Breath Gu, this is now an ancient desolate beast level sword dragon. Fang Yuan was well aware. As such, this immortal killer move could be used at the Blood Battle Martial competition. The previous sword dragon transformation would not work. It could only be used to bully some ordinary rank 6 Gu immortals. The current ancient sword dragon had the qualifications to match against rank 7 Gu immortals. Next was the most important part. Fang Yuan was unavoidably a little nervous. He lightly stretched out his dragon body and flew to a completely new dark ink stone. Dragon breath. Fang Yuan opened his mouth and breathed out. In that instant, a pure white sword light flashed past. Crack, a crisp sound was heard, as the dark ink stone was cut in two. Not only this, the sword light still had strength remaining to destroy the whole secret room. Fang Yuan's cloud city shook intensely, giving off muffled noises as large numbers of goo worms that formed the secret room died instantly. I have already controlled my strength, the dark ink stone already bore most of the dragon breath, only a small part of its power was leaked out. Intense joy flashed past the ancient sword dragon's eyes. Fang Yuan had only displayed a small portion of his strength, but his surrounding environment actually was unable to endure it. Although the Cloud City's structure was exquisite and hairy man Gu immortals had spent immense mental effort to make it, it was after all only a mortal Gu house, and could not endure the remaining power of the ancient sword dragon's breath. Green grape immortal essence continued to be consumed to maintain the form of the ancient sword dragon. Clearly, the immortal essence expenditure had increased by many times. Where there are gains, there are losses. After all, adding rank 7 immortal Gu dragon breath had increased the level of the immortal killer move, sword dragon transformation, immortal essence being expended rapidly was an inevitable outcome. I can no longer practice in the Cloud City. Langya Blessed Land has many observers, but if I go out of Langya Blessed Land I will receive even more attention from Heaven's will. It seems I still need to place my sovereign immortal aperture and properly test the limits of ancient sword dragon transformation. The dragon breath I send out has already reached rank 7 battle strength, its effect is outstanding and the expenditure is still small. How powerful will it be when I use sword marks targeting death, dark assassination and triple-layered sword wave in my ancient sword dragon form? Fang Yuan was feeling anticipation. He resolutely took action, immediately flying out of the Cloud City, going through the Super Gu formation and teleporting to the outside world. Fang Yuan has left. He actually exchanged for Dragon Breath Immortal Gu, what is the reason? Sixth Hair was secretly activating investigative methods, paying close attention until the Super Gu formation activated and Fang Yuan's figure disappeared from his perception. After Sixth Hair knew the change in the sect contribution points list, he was filled with unease. Fang Yuan's development speed had surpassed his expectations again. Moreover, he did not understand the direction of Fang Yuan's growth. Fang Yuan naturally won't exchange for an immortal Gu that has no use to him. No, I need to report this information to Lord Ing Wuxie quickly. Sixth Hair was filled with worries. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in the report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.